Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Welcome to 4Player Podcast, episode 760. It's June 15th, 2023. I'm your host this evening, Nick Henderson, joined tonight by the one, the only, Brad Simons.
That's right. Yeah.
Nolan Hedstrom.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
And Christopher Davis.
Good evening.
I do want to give a shout out to Crispy. He was really hoping to be here this evening. In fact, I think he was hoping to be here last week too, but he is ill and he has no voice. Which I can attest to. I called him today. He wanted to see if his voice would be podcast worthy, so I called him over my lunch break today, and I think he could have gotten by. But it would have been rough.
Oh, Nick, you're such a little softy, little soft friend. You probably were like, no, better, buddy.
You could
drink some honey and some tea.
Well, I did say that.
Bullied him into it. He would have been fine.
Well, I did give him the options to make the decision for himself, but it did.
God.
I'm sorry. I'm a softie. What do you want from me? Anyway, shut up. We have a lot to talk about tonight, guys. It is, and this. I will be honest. It is sad that Crispy's not going to be here tonight, because if there was ever an episode that Crispy should be here for, it's tonight. Because we're going to be talking about.
Everything.
We're going to recap the Xbox showcase, of course, but that involves a new Star Wars game being announced. We're going to talk about the Starfield Direct. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy XVI, which I know he played. We're going to talk about Diablo IV, which I know he's played. But don't worry, he will be back and he will have his opportunity to chime in on a future episode. So don't you worry.
He's not going to just chime in. He's going to have a fucking sermon.
Well, of course.
Especially once he listens to tonight's conversation.
Yeah, he might. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But of course, as we usually do, I want to start the show off with housekeeping and the Fantasy Critic update, because there's not a lot of housekeeping this week, to be honest. The Crispy thing is probably the only thing I need to mention. But, well, like I said, we're going to recap the Xbox showcase, which means we are now on the other side of Key 3, as we're affectionately calling it here. Which means kind of the back half of the year has become a little more clear, a little bit. Yeah. And as suspected, there were some bids and there were some developments and stuff, which we're going to talk about right now.
Nick,
first of all,
freeze. I got to ask you a question. It's on the topic of Fantasy Critic.
Are you about to put me on blast here?
No, wait. What is it? Do
you
want to? I could find something if you like.
Just go for it.
Okay. You still at -4?
Yes. Nothing has posted on my list since Redfall.
In the world, in the world of like nerd stuff, that like, that's embarrassing. Maybe I'll keep that one to myself, right? Like video game podcasts. It's pretty nerdy, but like I'll tell people I do a video game podcast. It's been a part of my life for like a very long time, right? And the conversation came up at work, and it's like, oh yeah, video game podcast, blah blah blah. That's fine. But then I started thinking about Fantasy Critic, and I feel like Fantasy Critic is like a deeper level of nerd.
Yeah,
of course
I was a little uncomfortable sharing. It's like, hey, it's like fantasy football, but with video game scores. That's pretty bad, and I was
really?
Like, there's something I do that's so nerdy. I don't think I can tell you. But then they goaded it out of me because, they were probably thinking like, they were throwing some stuff out like fucking furry conventions or something. I don't know. Right. And I'm like, no, it's not that bad, but it is pretty nerdy. Like when you think about
rude
it,
to our furry community.
No.
You're right. No. Basically, they said that, no, that's not actually nerdy. LARPing, that's not that bad. Like they were throwing out all this stuff guessing, and they're like, that's not actually that bad. That's fine. Nerds are cool.
Okay, let's get to it.
So I finally told them, and they're like, see, that's not that bad. But then they got pretty quiet. And what I'm saying is, I feel like Fantasy Critic is pretty nerdy.
Dude, I would tell people that we do a Fantasy Critic before I tell people we do a podcast. Personally.
What? That doesn't even make sense.
I agree with that.
Oh, you said you agree with me, Nolan?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I'm not ashamed.
Fantasy
of this
football
podcast.
with video game scores.
It's
Maybe
very
maybe-
rare that I say
just
this out
saying,
loud, but I'm kind of
If
on
they knew
Brad's
how
side right here.
invested in this shit we were, then it gets a little worse.
I mean, let's be honest. People who do football leagues are like the nerdy equivalent of.
You're right. You're right. And this
shit.
is layers of level
I also
of nerdy.
so
within it.
hold no. You don't know how much time, effort, planning,
I do.
strategy goes into
I do.
fantasy football.
'Cause
How
I
many leagues
work
have you
with
been in, Brad?
fantasy-
How many fantasy leagues have you participated in, Brad?
I'm saying I'm
We can't
familiar.
get off topic here, guys. We got a lot to cover
Yeah.
tonight.
Because I've been in probably about 4 or 5,
Yeah.
and it is a lot of work. It is not,
Yeah.
oh, I think Zelda's gonna do good because so I'll draft it. You are picking up players almost on a weekly basis.
No, I know.
You
You're
are
not telling me anything I don't know. I know it's nerdy. I know it's nerdy. I work with people who talk about it every fucking day of their lives, and they're
And you were
in
just
deep,
like,
and
God,
they
I
know."
wish these were video games. and not-
and we found our
players.
league. All right, go Nick. What are the bids?
All right, we got some new bids this week. 4, in fact.
No
The
one
first
has
one
the
on
fucking eye thing on, and I don't like it.
What are you talking about? Those are my eyes, Brad.
Fucking-
Sorry, Nick. Go.
Sometimes he's looking right at me, and I'm like, is he though? Is he looking right at me? I have no idea. All right, first bid on the docket is for Cities Skylines 2. And I can see Chris Davis trying not to smile. I'm pretty sure this is a Chris Davis bid.
I will tell
I
you,
saw
I
this-
bid this week, but I will not tell you what I bid on.
I saw his
Well, you
face
just
light
gave
up
it
when this
away,
game was announced.
But
But you know, it looked pretty cool. It looked pretty cool. I wish I was into these kinds of games, but that's that's neither here
Yeah,
nor there.
it's
Did
not
that
my cup
actually
of
get a
tea.
release date? Did it get a release date?
Yeah,
I did.
October 24th, according to what I'm looking at in the Phase Critic.
All
what
right,
else we got?
cool.
Nick?
Cocoon,
Cocoon?
which
That smells
is
like Nolan.
if I recall was announced like a year or two ago.
Nolan, look me in the eyes. Look me in the eyes and tell me it wasn't you. Well, I believe him. I believe him. I don't think there's
I'll
anything
never
hiding
tell.
behind those
Yeah.
eyes.
But that's from one of the lead creators, the lead designers from I believe the studio that made Limbo and Inside,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
broke off,
From
made a
that
studio, and
studio,
this,
but
but go check that game out. It looks wild.
It's kind of nice to
Jusant-
have like more of these like limbo likes coming out from more studios.
This is not a Limbo like. It's just the
definitely not a Limbo.
gameplay designer from Limbo. And
You can
Inside.
tell kind of like
Worked
I
on
feel
it.
like there's
It's a
probably
puzzle
some
game.
like you can kind of like maybe see like the like aesthetic sensibilities kind of there
Yeah.
might be some overlap
That's
there.
more
Not
what I
exactly
mean,
the
I'm sorry.
same. But you know, it mechanically speaking looks wild. We also have a bid for Jusant, which was announced at the Xbox showcase, which is a don't nod game, but it looks kind of like maybe like Eco. You're climbing like a giant tower. Like the whole the game is based around climbing mechanics, and you're scaling this giant tower, and you have like a little creature that lives in your backpack or whatever.
I bet you're hoping it's like Eco, huh, Nick?
Sure. I mean, let's be honest, Brad. If it was like Eco, wouldn't we all be winning?
I'm just saying this one smells like a Nick
Eco's
bid.
a pretty good
This
game,
one's-
and I think
I
we would
know.
all like
I'm saying this smells like a Nick bid.
it. Could maybe it is a Nick bid. And then the last one we got is Remnant 2, and I think I'm gonna say
think
Chris
that's
Davis on that
Carlos.
one as well.
I think it's Carlos.
What?
on that one?
Oh, I guess
I only have
sometimes
one
forget
slot
Carlos isn't
left.
here. That doesn't mean anything. I mean,
He has one
here's the
slot
thing.
left, and it's for City Skylines.
When your list is full, all it means is you can kind of maybe relax until the end
Honestly,
of the year.
I think some of these might be multiple bids. There's some juicy games here, honestly, and I
Okay.
think
Right.
at least a couple of them you'd probably be a little dumb not to bid, especially if you have a bunch of slots.
So we'll find out, of course, on Saturday how that all shakes out, and we'll provide an update on next week's podcast. We also, and this is probably not super all-inclusive here, but the release date, we had some release date updates that came from the showcase that are worth mentioning here. The two big ones that I wrote down are Spider-Man 2 is October 20th. That's on Carlos's list, of course, but also it's in the news. Got a release date. 'Cause when they showed the thing at the PlayStation thing, they didn't mention a release date. So at the Xbox showcase, or not the Xbox showcase, what was it? Wait a second. When
Who
did?
cares? Just say the game.
But wait a second.
No,
No.
we already knew it was October 20th from
Where did that show up again?
Oh, it was
at the
Summer Game Fest.
It was at Summer. Okay. Oh
Yeah.
my god. I was
Yeah.
like, for a second, I was sitting here thinking they came out on the Xbox stage, and I was like, what the fuck? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, don't mind me. Yeah, that's coming out October 20th, which notably 3 days after Alan Wake. So it looks like I am poop socking Alan Wake 2, just
Again.
like I poop socked Alan Wake 1 for Red Dead Redemption. So that's wonderful. Hellblade 2, 2024, which was on my list, and I sadly had to drop it. I was really. Here's the thing. We're gonna go over the predictions that we did from last week, and we're gonna kind of see how that all came together. We all, because one of the questions on our predictions round was Hellblade gets a release date and it's 2023, right? We all said yes. So I think,
Yeah.
No, you go
No,
back
I
look
did.
at it. We
I
all,
did not.
Yeah. Okay,
I
then
said
somebody
no.
Quickly.
somebody's gonna have to go play the tapes back because I remember all of us being on the same page on that one. So whatever.
Delusional.
Somebody go look at the tapes. But yeah, so 2024, not an exact date in 2024, but yeah, it slipped, so
Yeah.
that sucks. And I think that's it for Fantasy Critic specifically.
Well, I mean, we got
but
more
also-
release
also
dates
we also
beyond
did.
that, but yeah.
Well, I know I'm not. We're gonna go over a recap of the showcases and stuff too, so there's be plenty of time. And I only provide release dates on the Fantasy Critic update for things that are already on people's lists. So of course, if something comes up that I missed as far as a release date when we're doing a recap, jump in.
Fantasy Critics down.
Yeah, I was
Thank
about to
God
bring that
Nick-
up.
It's been happening a
Thank
lot.
God Nick puts it all on a spreadsheet.
I've got it
It's
open right now. It's working fine for me, but I'm not
Well,
going to press
do
a
a
button to
hard
get away.
refresh. Yeah.
No, I'm not
pretty
gonna do
it'll
that.
Be,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I was making a joke. And then
I've
I said you're
seen
gonna lose it.
seen the Fantasy Critic site go down like 4 times since Summer Game Fest started. So I don't know what's going on there. But anyways, Brad, do you want to do the predictions results before or after I do the recap?
We'll do it real quick. Won't take long. I'm just
All
going to run them down real quick, say what happened, and give you the winner. Microsoft announced the purchase of a new studio. No. New indie shadow drop. No. Non-indie shadow drop. No.
No shadow drops.
No, they did not. Did they spend more than 10 minutes on Forza? Not even close. How many
Wait.
times did they say?
Sorry, pause for a second. Brad, is it just me or is Brad's lips not
Brad's
matching?
lagging.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
lagging
Clipping a
bit.
little bit? Lagging? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, it's better now. Keep going.
Yeah, go.
Disregard.
Okay. They did not spend more than 10 minutes on Forza. They
3
said,
minutes or something. It was
They
crazy.
only said Game Pass out loud a few times.
Well, there's only
Chris
like,
Davis
there's only
won
like
that
2
one.
talking heads
he
the
had
the entire show.
Chris Davis had the lowest amount at 9, so he won that one. Phil Spencer wears a third-party IP T-shirt. He did not, but he did wear a Hexen T-shirt. That motherfucker, which we should talk about. I'm guessing that's coming. Hideo Kojima appears in person. No, almost nobody appeared in person. That was weird. Double Fine announces a new game. No, they did not. Fable will feature multiplayer elements. We don't know actually on that one.
Yep, they did not clarify. We did see Fable.
We did. How many farts in the Fable footage / trailer? 0.
What?
Will Perfect Dark be there? No. There was not. Indiana Jones shows gameplay. Nope. Everwild at the show. Nope. State of Decay 3 at the show. Nope. Not looking great for some of these games.
Yeah.
Avowed impresses more than Starfield.
That's a hard
I
no.
haven't checked the latest. We did post a community poll on the 4Player. Let me give you the exact numbers.
It was pretty.
79% said Starfield impressed more than Avowed,
Which is not
at
surprising
21%.
because Starfield had a 30-minute presentation.
It wasn't
like
even
a
fucking
2-minute
fair.
trailer.
It wasn't even fucking fair. I guess the thought behind that question is if Starfield was actually did the opposite and was like a big long presentation and just kind of pissed people off more than they already were. Because going into the thing, people were pretty down on Starfield. And
I think this managed to change the perception quite a bit.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hellblade did not get a 2023 release date. Silksong did not get a specific date. Todd Howard did not make a reference to his "See That Mountain, You Can Go There" meme.
He kind of did.
Two games, or no games got February dates.
But they kept
saying
early 24. They kept saying early 2024 instead of just specifying a month.
The two people who picked 2, which was the lowest number, won that one, which I believe was Nick and Chris Davis. As far as the optimism round. This is the one of kind of like these really long shots, and you get quadruple points if you pick yes, and it was yes. This was a tragedy because all of these were no. Not a single yes. and you'll see in a second that this
Strangely enough,
sealed the deal on the winner.
Maybe I'm getting a little ahead of ourselves because we're gonna do the recap in a minute, but still manages to be a pretty, I think, I walked away from the whole thing feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah. When
You know what I mean?
when I stepped back, it was, we'll talk about it. Good Starfield vibes really kind of carried that towards the end, I think. But we'll talk
Sure.
about it. Real quickly, no Killer Instinct, no Banjo Kazooie, no Halo spinoff, no Platinum Games game, no Final Fantasy IX remake, no Evil Within 3, no Star Wars Eclipse, no new Fallout game, no new Witcher game, no GTA 6, no Judas, no Monster Hunter 6th Gen, no
Oh man,
Castlevania.
we picked the wrong Star Wars game for that round. Because we knew there was a massive entertainment Star Wars game, and but like we went with Eclipse instead of that.
Yeah.
And then there was a bunch of the joke questions, but we don't need to go over those for the sake of time because they didn't actually count for points. And the winner is pretty like resoundingly was Carlos because
Yeah.
he picked no for every single game in the optimism.
He wasn't
round.
even on the prediction show.
Yeah,
but he,
I didn't even know
send us his
I didn't even know he
answers.
counted. Who was second place?
Well, him and Chris Davis. The thing
Who
about
was third?
Okay, I didn't count third.
No.
The thing about oh yeah, well the thing about the questions, you didn't really have to be there. I tried to encourage Crispy to like fill this out as well, but he never got around to it. He could have made points. But yeah,
So,
Carlos wins. As far as
kinda-
what he wins, we don't actually know, but I guess we'll put, as far as next year's league, we'll put
You know, I would be comfortable with saying right now as just kind of like to make this kind of count, because if
It
you're
should count.
for those who missed it, last week we said we were doing this as a new segment, as a predictions thing going forward for like all these showcases, right? And we're gonna try and tie it into our fantasy critics. So like, you know, whoever gets the most points for one of these things would get some kind of small advantage, or like a points boost or a money boost or whatever on the next year's fantasy critic or whatever. So if we wanted to just kind of tentatively say the winner of this one gets $5 extra on their budget at the start of next year, I would be comfortable with that. But maybe I'm speaking out of turn. I don't know.
I mean, it sounds to me like Carlos is going to start with a double lead. He's going to have the lead pick, and he's going to have extra money to start.
I don't think he's going to have the lead pick. I think I'm going to have the lead pick.
The man bid on routine.
So
Okay,
it just means he's probably going to get 0 points.
Have you watched any? Like, are you following our league? Damn it!
Okay.
Did you watch my math stream?
No.
Okay.
Nobody
Okay,
watched
here's
your
the
math stream.
The point is, we're trying this out. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to brainstorm and come up with a way in which these kinds of events would tie into our fantasy critics to make things a little spicy, right? So Carlos won this round, so we'll figure out something to give Carlos
We'll see.
for winning this round.
It's a point on his chart. We need to decide something, and we should do it quickly. One extra free drop, that seems a little too potent. Maybe we'll
talk about it later. We'll figure it out. Just let us know if you like the segment. You can leave us a comment on the feedback channel in Discord, or you can leave us a comment on the post for this podcast on 4playernetwork.com, or you can just message us in Discord. I don't care. Just let us know. All right, let's get on to the recap, because again, lots to talk about tonight, and there's a lot of stuff from this showcase. Again, there was probably also several other showcases that I'm saying the Xbox showcase, but there was also the PC gaming show and the fucking Future Games show and the Tribeca thing and the Ubisoft 4. I know. We're going to focus on Microsoft tonight and maybe a little bit of the Ubisoft thing, right? And the Capcom thing was a big nothing sandwich. So let's start with, I'm just going to go right down the list. Again, not going to spend a lot of time on everything. We're just going to rattle these off. So they opened with Fable at the Xbox showcase.
Did they?
What I will say about this is, and this is maybe kind of something you'll see recurring, I suppose, and I'm glad they showed it, because it's one of those things that reassures people that it's still real. And this did give us a better taste of like what the vibe of this game is going to be. And they are adamant that this is what we saw was in-game footage, right? We're not gameplay, but like in-engine.
Well, no, gameplay. I mean, it was quote unquote gameplay.
Quote unquote, yes.
But the problem is that was a very cinematic set PC like sequence. Right. Like, what is that game? That could be in any fucking game. That's not like a Fable game I want to play necessarily.
Again, what I want to say is I'm glad they showed it. I am still excited for it. I dig the vibe. But like, this is the kind of thing, like they already showed us Fable kind of in this same, like not quite as deep as this, but they showed us like a big cinematic thing, and
Yeah,
if you're
that
gonna
was
come
nothing.
back
That was like a
this, if you're gonna go dormant on a game like this for like a year or more, and then come back and show it again, you gotta bring some gameplay, man. You gotta even if it's just like early prototype shit, just to give people an idea of what it is. If you don't have that, just keep sitting on it. Just keep it under wraps. We don't
well,
need to see it
no, I
yet.
don't think they.
No, don't
I
sit
mean,
on it.
honestly, with some of these projects, I don't think sitting on it is fair for them at this point. Not Microsoft,
Right.
but they could say what the fucking game is. You
Right.
know, like a very set PC moment with a giant is not like is it even an open world RPG? Who knows?
We don't
Who
know.
knows?
So and they didn't even specify anything about a date or a year or anything like that. So
Oh
we're
my
still
God.
pretty far off from this, I think.
Hey, you
Then
know,
they
it's
went-
taking a little while for this acorn to grow, Nick.
Yeah.
It'll get there.
It really does
God.
feel like
God damn it.
it's getting a little silly on this one because like give us something. I felt like
Yeah.
an asshole. Like I've told my wife, who's a big Fable fan, for so many of these fucking showcases. Oh, it's got to be here. It's got to be here. There's gonna be something. There's some rumors that it's gonna be here. And this was the one that like Microsoft did the tease on with the tweet. And everyone was like, "Oh yeah, Fable. It's time, right?" When else would it be? There's gonna be something. And then I just felt like an asshole. I almost didn't
Yeah.
want to show her the fucking video because
I will say this. There's still. I mean, I think this is kind of unlikely, but I think there's still a possibility they show some more of this at the Game Awards or something, right?
No. Oh, Game
Or no?
Awards, yeah, maybe at the end
Okay.
of the year. But
Yeah,
people kept telling me wait for the extended thing, and I'm like, those extended things never have shit.
And they
But yeah.
didn't. All right. Next, they showed a new game called South of Midnight from Compulsion Games, and I know
It
Brad
looks
has.
nice. Like
It does.
well,
Nice art
the
style.
art is nice. The developer I don't trust at all because they've never made a game over 70.
This is Compulsion that did Contrast and We Happy Few.
Mhm.
Neither of which pulled in a lot of good faith, right?
No,
I'm not saying
at all,
I'm not
actually.
saying they can't. I'm not saying they can't deliver something fresh and exciting, but this is as far as I'm concerned, they have yet to prove themselves.
Not just that, but
So-
if there any developer that you can't trust from like an impressive initial showing, it's the people who made We Happy Few. Because let me tell you, it was an impressive initial reveal for that game.
You know what? This is We Happy Few is almost not to the same extent, but it's almost like Alien Colonial Marines. Like I mean, the Colonial Marines was just a broken ass game, and I think We Happy Few is just not what they promised. But oh man, I put them almost on the same level. So I don't know.
Yeah, I was never sold on Colonial.
I do think
I was talking about the
this.
DS Alien game that E3.
Oh yeah, I do think this shows. I mean, it has a really cool vibe. So I want to see more. I'm not going to write it off entirely.
The art
Yeah.
looks nice.
I hope they can pull this together and it surprises us. Of course, the next one was a big one for me, and we got two looks at this. We got Star Wars Outlaws. This is the massive entertainment Star Wars game. This is a big surprise. I don't think a lot of people expected this to be revealed. Not only
We'll talk
revealed,
more about this one with Ubisoft.
Yeah. So we'll get to that later,
Yeah.
but did look very promising. 33 Immortals, which I don't remember much about this other than that it's a 33-player multiplayer game. Random. I don't know.
That's a number.
I don't think. Yeah, that is a number.
From the
It showed-
Spiritfarer developer, which is cool, I guess.
Next up is a game that I'm really shocked wasn't bid on this week. Payday 3 was shown.
Oh,
All right, or was it?
I mean,
was it-
is there any rush on that? When does that come out?
Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to come out this year.
Oh, okay.
no,
that's why.
it's September 21st.
Okay,
Oh,
it
it's
is
probably
set.
early access, right? Is that even
No,
like a
it's
ship-
full release.
see that again.
Well, there's no
how many-
rush to bid.
I mean,
Well,
so
I don't know.
here's the problem. The reason why I did not bid on it is, granted, I put
games as a
500
service.
hours into Payday 2, but
You regret
Okay,
every minute of it.
well, no, two things happened. Number one, the DLC got very long in the tooth for how long they had to support it, and two, their Walking Dead game bombed hard,
Yeah,
That's
like
game
true.
so
was, like,
bad that they
terrible,
lost
right?
the license and they had to pull that game from shelves.
Yeah, not just that, but like, come on, Chris Davis makes some wild fucking choices, but not who's gonna bid on a games as a service right now? Like, fucking, that's crazy.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Next they showed that Persona 3 remake called Persona 3 Reload, which I
So
thought was
talked about.
interesting that they came back and clarified after the fact that this does not have the content that was part of Persona 3.
Golden.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
FES. Yeah, thank you. FES.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just not FAS. So this is just a remake of the original vanilla
portable.
Persona. Yeah.
Like there's multiple versions of Persona 3 out there.
Yeah,
and
so
Right.
so
with
you
new
don't get to
stuff.
play as the female protagonist either.
They
Yeah.
literally chose the worst version of the game to remake.
It seems like a waste. Oh, like, why would they do
Yeah.
that?
It is
Yeah.
it is a strange choice, but
It's
I
so-
am
it's-
kind of excited.
It's probably
I'm
so
kind
they
of
can
glad.
release a royal version later, right?
Yeah, so they
I
can
you
am
might not be
glad
wrong,
that it's
Brad.
getting a remake treatment though, because I've always kind of been curious about Persona 3, but it's so far removed from. I mean, I guess it's on PC nowadays, isn't it? Or is that just 4?
Persona 3?
Yeah.
3 FES, I think, is.
I
Okay.
don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
Anyways,
it is.
it looks kind of like Persona 5 now, so that's cool.
The marketing felt very careful about this game.
I think it has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
That-
cool game. I mean,
Like
and
evidently the invokers are in there. I've looked at some screenshots, but like that
I don't know what
invokers
that
were
means, but
heavy.
that's cool.
yeah,
Those were the
yeah.
fucking guns the kids put up to their heads and pulled the trigger.
Oh yeah, well I mean
Mhm.
that as kind of like I know obviously that's a sensitive subject and it's kind of controversial, right? But like if you're
And
gonna
the
remake
trailers
Persona,
seem worth it.
but it's one of those things where it's like if you take that out of the game, like that is what people remember about Persona 3, right? I know it's
if
it's- you
that's
take
what
that
they
out of
remember
it-
about the game, that's a bad sign for the game.
Well, no. Okay, you're twisting my words here. What I'm trying to say is it is a thing that everybody remembers about Persona 3. You know, I'm not saying it's the only thing that the game has going for it, but it is definitely one of those things like when you're thinking of like, okay, which Persona is this? Like that's one of like that is kind of like one of the identifying pieces of it. So I feel like it would be weird to remove it, but I would certainly see why they would consider it. But anyways, moving on.
Hey,
They
just
showed
FYI,
Avowed.
FYI, Nick, Persona 3
Yeah.
Portable is available on Steam.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Portable,
Yeah, which I
Yeah.
hear is a good version,
Mhm.
right?
No, it
Well,
is. It is.
it is good, but it doesn't have the run around the towns and stuff. It's all menu based.
Yeah.
That's
But
correct.
Persona, but it looks like this remake is going to have that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Because this is going to be more in line with like Persona 5, I would say. But
Yeah.
you know, the art style, anyways. All right, so they showed Avowed, which is one of the ones we've been kind of eager to get a look at. I actually did not realize that Avowed. I mean, from the very beginning, this is why I asked you in Discord, Brad. I didn't realize it was part of the Pillars of Eternity universe, but
Yeah.
maybe I just missed that.
Also details have come out since that trailer, which was a little gameplay trailer, just kind of cut up. I mean, it just looked like like a Skyrim, like right, which is cool. From Obsidian, which is cool. Good writing, I'm sure, good characters.
Yeah.
But it has since been they've since clarified and stuff and said that it's sort of like more on the scale of like an Outer Worlds. This is not a big open world game. It's going to have multiple.
I think that's fine because even though I didn't end up
places.
finishing, end up finishing Outer Worlds, and I didn't love it. I never had an issue with its scope or its size.
Yeah, I agree with that. The difference is all of the Elder Scrolls games have been single world games, and Outer Worlds, I feel like, we gave a pass because you were going to different planets, right?
Right.
I've never. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird for it to be one connected world in a fantasy setting because, like I said, the blueprints for all of those are one big world. So,
Well, I
Right,
thought it was
right.
supposed to
But,
be
I
set
mean,
on
this
an
is something-
island.
what?
I thought the scale was supposed to be because it was set on an island, entirely on an island.
That
am I wrong?
might be true,
No,
actually.
it is not one connected world. It's multiple areas, they said, or multiple big. It's like Outer Worlds, kind of, but they're not different planets. I don't know how
I mean, but let's be honest. That's
stuff is
not
connected.
that's not
But
that kind of like world design is kind of. I mean, that's not uncommon these days, just for any RPG.
they said
I
it's
think because-
comparable to like KOTOR 2, like big.
Yeah.
But again, those were planets. Whatever. Obsidian makes good games. I'm sure this will be good.
You know what I
I'll
was a little
play it.
surprised by? Not surprised. It's mostly just I don't know what I was expecting, but it is one of those games that when I looked at it and finally saw it, right? We have officially entered a new generation of gaming. We've been in this generation now for like 3 years now, I'm guessing,
Yep.
right? And I was immediately like, this doesn't really look like a current gen game. It's kind of like maybe it'll look better.
I will
when
say
I'm
it looked really no. I would say it looked really bad on stream. When I went back and watched the 4K whatever, it did look
Yeah.
a lot better. So
Okay,
I do
I'll
recommend
actually go check
looking
that
up
out.
like a good version of that.
Yeah.
I think I
because
felt the
it
same way
looks
about
good.
Outer Worlds too. And when I popped in Outer Worlds, maybe being like, "Oh, this actually looks pretty nice."
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it-
like
it's better than it showed on stream for sure.
The problem with Twitch one of the many problems with Twitch is that it doesn't handle a lot of colors well, and that is a very
Yeah.
colorful game.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is very colorful,
Yes,
which is funny because that original cinematic trailer they showed did not give
was
me
very
colorful
dry.
vibes.
Yeah.
It was very dark. So the next up, and I'm only mentioning this because I think it's kind of an interesting thing, but they announced a new free expansion of Sea of Thieves based on Legend of Monkey Island, which I thought was, I mean, it's a good fit.
Perfect.
It's perfect fit.
It is a good
if
fit.
I played Sea of Thieves, I think I'd probably be really excited about this, but I don't. But I thought I'd mention it. Then they showed Hellblade 2, and again, it's more of a tech. I mean, yeah. Here's the thing. Hellblade has always. I mean,
It's a bummer.
I mean, right? No. It is a bummer. It is because they haven't showed a second of like just continuous, uninterrupted gameplay with combat. Right? We all want to see. I mean, I'm not playing that game for combat, but I do want to see what it's like. I don't want to watch.
But what they showed a year and a half ago was more substantial than what they showed.
So the last presentation,
week, and that's disappointing.
The last presentation that they focused, they were trying to kind of show off visually how stunning it was, right? And this one was like almost entirely trying to show off the 3D audio, which has obviously been its thing since the very, very beginning. And it is impressive, but like we've heard it before, we get it. So I was a little bummed that, and aside from being delayed or not delayed, but finally getting a release window of 2024, they didn't show any like substantial gameplay. I do think that game is going to be good, and I do think it's going to deliver. But
show a character running around, solve a puzzle. Like, why are they afraid? I feel similar to like how I did about Fable. It's like some of these games, I'm like, where's this game? Where's this game? Where's this game? And a couple of them they finally showed, or they showed again, and it's like, well, fuck, that's not enough because there's still a lot that are missing, like the ones, Everwild, State of Decay 3, Indiana Jones, what the fuck is Contraband? Like, there's still a lot of stuff that they're completely silent on, and the ones they weren't are like this, and I'm like, no date, we don't know what it is. You showed us even less. What the fuck?
Right, but 2024 is the year. 2024 is the year.
We said
next,
that about 2023 again.
And 2022, 2021, and 20.
Yeah.
Next, they showed Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth.
This
great title. Great title.
This was good. This
did absolutely nothing for me.
This is Yakuza 8. It's Hawaii, I think people have figured out.
Yep.
But it's Ichiban and maybe Kiryu in the West, which is very exciting.
Yeah,
which is
very
kind of
exciting.
Said he wanted like 6 months ago or something, right?
When we did our like dream,
you wanted
games,
in Texas.
This was on my list of.
Oh yeah.
I want to Kiryu goes. I want a Yakuza in the West. I think I specifically wanted Texas, but I'll take Hawaii. It's the closest I'm going to get. But Hawaii also has like very much a lot of like a large Japanese presence, at least some of the islands.
Texas is mostly uninteresting unless you're setting it in like the past in the West. You know what I mean?
No. But that's the thing. I want to see that team's Japanese development team's take on Texas. You know what I mean? That's what makes it cool and funny. Like like Earthbound or whatever, right? Like I want to see their take on the West, and I guess we'll get a little bit of that here. But that trailer
is this a 2023 game or 2024?
2024, early 2024.
Who am I kidding?
If the 2023 game is the little
so
game.
fast.
The man who erased his name is supposed to be a direct prequel.
Gotcha.
Yeah, which is the gap for Kiryu, but yeah, it's that one comes out this year.
And that's on Chris Davis's list. Okay. Next, they had the ultimate fake out. For like 80% of this trailer, I was like, oh my god, we're looking at the new Onimusha. I thought we were looking at a new goddamn Onimusha game, and then it turned out, and then I started to realize, no, this is not in fact an Onimusha game. We knew it was Capcom. Yeah, there were certain
buttholes.
There are visual elements in it that are very like Onimusha adjacent.
Those fucking demon doors were 100% from Onimusha. So like
the demon door, it looked like if they had slapped the word Onimusha on there, I would have been like, yep, this is it. This is back.
You would have gone nuts. That's the thing. You would have seen the exact same trailer, but your reaction would have been so different, which is funny.
Yes.
It reminds me of that time I was at E3 with Chris Davis, and it was like some Ubisoft game, and he was just like stone-faced, quiet, and then at the end it was like Tom Clancy, and he was like, "Oh shit!" And I was like, it's the same trailer."
I don't even know what was this.
It was for The Division, I think, or some fucking.
Okay,
no,
because Massive was making that gets a. Okay, we'll talk about that later.
We're not.
No, we won't.
Will we though? Will we
We
talk
may.
about
We'll
that?
talk about. We'll talk about.
All right, we got to keep going. We got to keep going. Sorry,
Well-
I didn't mention the name of that game. It's called Kunitsugami: Path of the Goddess.
I think it looks
New
cool.
IP?
A new IP
No, it
from
does.
Capcom when
It
they're
does.
on their shit. Outside of
Yeah, no, I'll
XCOM.
play it. I'll
It's exciting.
fucking play it.
And I think I figured out what that gameplay loop is after watching it a bunch.
And
It
we-
looks like you were actually carving the path for the goddess on an escort mission through demonic territory and cleansing the world. I think there's a lot more Okami vibes to this than actually Onimusha.
Yeah, I've
It
actually
looks
heard a few
really
people. I've heard a few people make that Okami comparison. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, and that's cool. Obviously, we love Okami. That's rad. So yeah, I'm in.
This there's no place for it, but I want to throw it in here real quick because like the only thing at the Capcom thing that was new, they showed brief snippets of Pragmata, and then it was
Yeah, yeah.
mostly an apology for it getting delayed again.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
But those brief snippets of
Looked cool.
the gameplay is like looks like a game I want to play. So I
It
am
looks very,
interested to
it-
see more.
It
of
looked like
whatever
it
the hell
looked
that is. It
very.
looks nice.
Oh my god, what's the game I'm
Somewhere
trying to
between
think of?
binary and binary
And-
domain and what's his name? Starts with a V.
That's the one I'm trying to think of.
Death
Someone
Stranding.
help me. No,
No,
the other game that the Platinum Games game where you're like sliding on your fucking knees with rockets.
Vanquish.
Vanquish. Thank you.
There you go. That's it.
But it looks pretty and it looks cool, so I do want to finally see that. But
Yeah, absolutely.
what else we got, Nick?
They showed Forza Motorsports.
By the
Persona
way, still, is there anything about that game that's like not just
Coming
another
out-
car game? Real quick,
coming out this year, and it's going to pull in points for Crispy.
I
uh,
guess.
I guess.
like 16 points maybe.
Persona 5. Why are you scoffing at 16 points? Like that's bad.
No, I'm not. No, because from the beginning, people have been treating this pick like it's a Forza Horizon game, and I'm like, it's not a Forza Horizon game. Okay, calm down. And they still have not said anything about this being anything than yet another Forza sim, which
Well,
doesn't.
let's be
score
honest.
nearly
If
as
it was
well.
a Forza Horizon game, he would have been on that instead of that. But there's no Forza Horizon game this year. Okay, next we had Persona 5 Tactica, which is a tactics Persona
I
game.
thought this
The
was
only
right
dis-
after Persona 3. Or
No,
I
it came a
guess-
little after.
Oh,
Uh,
this looks like a Brad game. I mean, I'm gonna
it
play.
does. It does. It looks rad. I'm a little bummed that it's chibi. I don't know why. It just kind of. I was like, they had an opportunity to make this. I don't know. It had an opportunity. Like I think Persona has such a.
There's
Just-
so many like Persona games and spin-offs with normal non-chibi characters.
I guess.
And also, like, this is the third Persona 5 spinoff. So, like, let
Yeah.
them at least do something different visually.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Then we had Jusant, which is the game we mentioned during the Fantasy Critic update, the Don't Nod game. There is a demo for
Climbing.
this. I would recommend checking it out.
You did play it, right?
I did play the demo, yeah.
And it was
It's pretty good. I mean, it's pretty cool. The fact that it's all built around climbing mechanics seems really cool. I think they need to tighten up some of the controls a little bit.
you didn't
'cause-
bid on this then, did you? This doesn't seem like a game you would have bid on after playing that demo where you were kind of like, it needs work.
Yeah,
Could have been anyone.
Or he's trying
Here's
to
the thing-
fake.
here's
He's
the
trying to
thing.
fake people out.
Oh,
Then
he could
I
be
do
trying to fake us out.
yeah, maybe he
Here-
actually loved it. He doesn't want anyone else to bid on it.
Let me no. I
Yeah.
did. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, everybody quiet for a second. I do want to clarify. I did pop into Discord and voice a little concern about it. I said that they need to tighten it up a little bit, right? But like, what I will say
It was
is
a little
that
too Japanese.
No,
And
no.
we were like, what does that mean, Nick?
what I will say is that the amount that it needs to be tightened up, I think, is very doable within because it's supposed to come out in the fall. So, like, it just needs a little bit of polish, just a little bit, I think, to take it to really take it over the edge and have it be something good. So, I don't know. It is
Okay,
Don't Nod.
Hold on. Is what Prince of the Universe in chat say is true? Is Bennett Foddy helping out on this game?
Who is that?
The developer of QWOP, the creator of QWOP, and Getting Over It.
No.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that would make sense. But consider so.
He's got a new game. It was at Devolver, but
Yeah,
is he
yeah.
helping out with this because it's about
I haven't-
climbing?
I haven't heard that, but it would make sense because you are controlling the hands separate with the different because
He's
the way
done multiple climbing games now. So
right. But like his game aren't his games like over the top ridiculous just in terms of like
Absolutely.
I don't think
Getting
like,
Over
this
It is about a
going-
guy whose torso is stuck in a pot and he climbs a mountain with
Yeah.
a sledgehammer.
a cauldron.
I don't think they don't want they're not trying to make Jusant like this unapproachable climbing thing. Like it's like it's very mechanically competent. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. Let's move on. The next one I'm actually really excited about coming in 2024 still wakes the deep. This is from the Chinese Room. This is a narrative focused first person horror game that takes place on an oil rig out in the middle of the ocean. Now, the Chinese Room, you may remember them as the team that did they did the Vanishing of Ethan Carter? Or did I make
You're
that up?
thinking Machine for Pigs, maybe?
No, I know they did Amnesia Machine for Pigs, which is what I was building to because I actually really enjoyed that game.
Dear Esther?
Dear Esther, and I think they did Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Maybe somebody can.
They
correct
did
me
Dear
if I'm wrong.
Esther. They did Little Orpheus,
That's it.
and Everyone's Gone to the Rapture.
Everyone's gone to the Rapture. That's what I was trying to think of.
And Machine for Pigs.
So for me, it's all about. I really enjoy. It's not my favorite Amnesia game, especially now that I've finished The Bunker, which is fantastic. But I really liked what they tried with A Machine for Pigs, and this is just kind of out of left field. It surprised me. It was one of those things I didn't expect to see at the show, and it looks really
excited
creepy.
for a first-person horror game?
Fuck yes.
Nick, is there any way I can convince you to actually write a review for Amnesia and get it posted to Open Critic? I would appreciate just even one extra point on that.
No, here's the thing. Well,
here's the thing.
Don't distract me. That game is excellent, but it scored exactly where I kind of figured it was going to score. Right? But like this is the only thing I'll say about Amnesia tonight. I finished it on the stream last night. Amnesia: The Bunker is without a doubt my favorite thing Frictional Games has ever done. So I'll just leave it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that game is
the
phenomenal.
Dark Descent is pretty good.
No, the Dark Descent is excellent, but The Bunker is now my favorite Amnesia game without question.
I heard it kind of sucked.
See, that's the thing. This is why it's scoring in the 70s, because horror is such a just divisive. Like
Subjective.
Everybody thinks different things are frightening and thinks different things are effective and not. It's hard to appeal to a mass audience in horror. It's rare. It's like they're like unicorns. Like horror games that appeal on a mass scale are unicorns.
It's clowns for me.
Unicorns with clown makeup on frighten the shit out of me too. Dungeons of Hinterberg, I don't really remember much about that one, but that was announced. Also, this is another what I assumed was like a Shin Megami Tensei adjacent game called Metaphor Refantasio, which
new IP from the creator of Persona. Moving on.
Not a good name.
I think it kind of fits their thing, but like I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this other than go watch it. It looks kind of wild. I'm gonna keep an eye on it.
No, it looks cool.
So does this mean that Persona 6 is much further out than we think?
No.
Not necessarily.
I don't think
Original
so, yeah.
creator of Persona is not necessarily the current creator of Persona.
Right. Towerborn, don't have much to say on that one.
Well, except that's it's the Banner Saga developer, and I feel like that's a little disappointing. Well, I don't know. It's fine. Maybe it'll be cool, but it didn't look like something I would want from the developer of Banner Saga, I guess.
Right.
You could say.
And then the last thing that I have on my list, I don't know if this is really the last thing they showed before Starfield, but Clockwork Revolution, which is from In Exile, giving me really strong like BioShock Infinite vibes, but obviously I think it's going to be a different kind of game.
I think it looks to me like somewhere in between BioShock Infinite and like Singularity.
Don't say Singularity.
Which was a BioShock clone.
But I do think this is going to have some immersive sim elements to it, but
I really liked Wasteland 3, I'll say. Surprisingly, because I didn't think I would love it, but I really did. I kind of wish they were doing something more like that again, because I feel like this is a developer who's been kind of hit or miss with their projects, and I feel like if they bite off more than they could chew, it could end up being a little, I don't know. This is the Hunted the Demon's Forge developer, after all.
It's a deep cut. Hunted the Demon's Forge. But
can you
I will say this: go watch the trailer. It looks cool.
Yeah. Can you imagine if this game was like, you remember the Clockwork Mansion or
yes, in Dishonored 2?
In Dishonored 2. Or sorry, no, the mansion that's fucked up in time where you switch back and forth? What if that's the mechanic for the game?
Are you talking about in Dishonored?
In Dishonored, yeah. In Dishonored 2.
I don't remember much about that, but I'll take your word for it. It could be fucking rad. I hope to learn more about that sooner rather than later. That trailer ended with like coming in due time, whatever the hell that means. All right, so let's talk about it. the big Starfield Direct, right? This was their. I will say this: I was expecting like an hour and a half followed by Starfield, but at around the hour mark on this thing, they were like, "All right, time to talk about Starfield." I was like, "Oh, they're using this as their big finish, right?" So I was a little kind of bummed because I was still kind of waiting to see State of Decay and all the all those games that you mentioned that weren't there, right? So
Well,
it kind of took me by
how dare
surprise.
Spencer not give us that one more thing while he's wearing that fucking Hexen shirt?
It's crazy that this was their one more thing. Like I feel
What
like
is that?
the one more thing is not something you tell people about before it happens. It's supposed to be a surprise.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: it somehow still managed to steal the show because this
Of course,
Starfield
they showed
Direct,
so much of it. It's not even fair.
And it looks
it's
good.
not it is not even fair, and it looks really good. I don't even have a list of all the things they talked about because again, it's like a
No.
30-minute presentation. But they
More.
showed. I mean, they showed a lot of combat, which I think a lot of people were kind of down on the last time we saw it, and I think it looks a lot better. There's talk
it
that
looks a lot better.
yeah, it looks way better. They showed a lot of jetpacks flying around too. They
Man.
showed shipbuilding and running around planets. And I mean, help me out here, guys.
The combat
showed a-
looked much better.
The annoying fan.
the annoying fan. Yeah,
At first when they were kind of like, oh, the story of Starfield, and they were showing like a bunch of characters we don't care about yet, and it seemed like when they were kind of setting it up, I'd say like the first 5 10 minutes, maybe even, I was getting a little like worried,
It was a
honestly.
little
It
slow in
seemed
the first
it
few
seemed
minutes.
dull.
Yeah.
It seemed dull.
Yeah.
Like where's the life in this world, in this universe? Because I think we were having the conversation during the show, but I think of like the fandoms for these games, and a lot of it revolves around like humor, memes, memorable characters, and some of the
So-
crazier
clever,
more
funny
out there
writing.
quest lines like Dark Brotherhood and stuff. And
So
when I
I
see
felt
this, I'm like,
like. No, go ahead. Finish your thought, Brad.
and when what I was seeing is like, this seems dull, this seems lifeless, this doesn't seem like it'll capture those fandoms and bring them back to like, oh, we love Bethesda game studio games again, because obviously the fandom had been real down on Bethesda, and they finally got back to that. I feel like the further you went in, you start to see more of the crazier creations and some of the crazier characters and some of the references to like classic like Bethesda game stuff, like the annoying fan. But yeah.
So I felt like they just whoever directed this deep dive this did a bad job, because I feel like the deep dive felt like a dev diary you would get with a game, and you could watch it on your own off to the side. Someone who's already excited about this game, who's played it for 40 hours and now wants to delve more into it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It really felt like it was someone who already loved Starfield, not who loved the concept of it, but someone who really loved Starfield, and it's the type of person that would go on YouTube and look up like 10,000 videos. That's what it felt like. It felt like they were kind of talking to you as
Yeah.
if you already knew what was going on early on, and then after, like you said, like 5-10 minutes, then they started actually showing stuff that was like, oh, this is why you should be excited for this.
Yeah,
What I do think because I do agree with Brad about Bethesda having a kind of a legacy of making a very specific kind of game, and those fandoms are obviously very important. And this seems like, at first glance, it kind of seems like maybe this might alienate some of those people, or it may not bring them back. But I also think that there was a conscious effort on their part to want to try and do something new that doesn't necessarily feel like immediately identifiable as a Bethesda game, right? But as the presentation went on, those elements started to kind of blend together, and I was like, okay, this is actually coming together as like a really, like it's both it's identifiable as a Bethesda game, but it has enough stuff that feels fresh and new that like I was not expecting. And I don't know if that's a byproduct of the way they decided to edit this thing together and how they kind of trickled stuff out over the course of it, but
It just
ultimately, I
started
think it was
snowballing,
successful.
and like
Yeah.
the vibes were getting better, and you started saying things. Okay, that looks cool. That looks fun. Oh, they made a fucking mech out of a ship or whatever.
They made a
And it's just-
Megatron.
it's honestly, all the different
But-
ship designs.
but-
Just
But hold on, let's interrupt this presentation to talk about a Chrono Mark watch that you can get for pre-order. And I was
Oh,
like, oh my
geez.
god, it looks so fucking dumb.
And then
Yeah, that was
who's gonna buy these controllers?
Okay, so, hold on, Nick. Yeah, a controller is one thing. If I only had a single controller or a recent one
Right.
broke, I would not be opposed to buying a stylized controller
Right,
off a
right.
game that maybe I like, but like a fucking
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah.
Like, is it?
Uh,
I feel like that thing's kind of gonna be a piece of shit.
Well, I do think they're kind of trying to appeal to this because there was a time in my life where I was of the age where I got really excited about the Pip Boy thing in Fallout, right? Even though that thing was just kind of a piece of crap, like a plastic piece of junk, right? Um, and I don't even know what happened to mine, but obviously I think those parts of the presentation are trying to appeal
Yeah.
to
And
maybe a
money.
younger crowd.
and it's a low end smartwatch, and the set costs $300. So like Pebbles that you could buy like 4 or 5 years ago were like easily less than $100. So
Right.
they can just do a low end smartwatch and give it some Starfield branding, and it there would be people out there that would buy it.
Right. So
I
I mean,
get it.
obviously it is a market. The whole thing is a marketing thing, right? So that not super unexpected, I guess. And the amount of time they spent talking about that stuff was pretty short comparatively speaking to everything else they did show. Um, but I don't
It
know.
was just a lot of cool shit. I got hyped. When they were talking about
There's
zero
just
G
space combat.
gunfights and how like ballistic weapons will like push you back, but laser weapons won't. And I'm like, this is just space is cool, man.
Oh, yeah, no,
it made me
so-
think of Prey.
Yeah, it did. But also just to kind of add some context to what you just said, Brad, like the whole thing about like they were specifically talking about firing different kinds of guns while in 0G or like lower gravity, right? So you're
Yeah.
floating off the ground and firing a gun that uses actual physical rounds would propel you backwards, but using a laser wouldn't. Like, and they were getting down to like they were drilling down to the nitty gritty shit like that, and
Well, I mean,
it's the
they
kind of stuff
needed
that got
to,
really
though.
excited. No,
Like
they definitely needed to.
On the Guns and Combat specifically, like you could tell the influence between last year's presentation and this one, just how much it did to change their combat up. Like
Right.
this, this time around,
it feels a little faster. Feels a little more
much faster, much more vertical and varied in encounters. It felt like
jetpacks.
fucking jetpacks,
Which
mobility.
I think they showed a little bit. I think they showed a little bit of the jetpacks last year, but they showed a lot more of it this time and a lot more just
They
in
showed
action.
some space combat, and that was looking good.
Mhm.
It has like power diverting, like in TIE Fighter and stuff. It just it looks good. Look, I went into this thing thinking that Starfield was a solid pickup for my fantasy league. I came out of that going like, dude, this could be, if this game does as well as it could, this could be the thing that helps me get
Like,
to where I need to be at the end
It
of the year.
feels like every single thing we complained about last year in their presentation has
Addressed in
been
some way.
addressed.
Just to kind of piggyback off what y'all were saying, just kind of like going before and after reactions. I've been excited for Starfield, but more of just kind of like, hey, yeah, Starfield's a big game. Of course, I'm going to play a big game, and we talk about it, and I'm excited about that aspect of it. What I didn't expect was to walk away from this presentation with Starfield being probably near the top of my list. Maybe only behind Alan Wake 2 for me, as far as like most anticipated games of the year.
For the rest of the year, to be clear.
For the rest of the year.
I'm just glad that the vibes are kind of like flipping. Like people were really down on Bethesda, they were down on Starfield. Basically, they were
Microsoft
just
needed
unhappy.
this. Let's
And
be
now
real.
people seem happy and excited and anticipating the game. And like I needed that energy. I think Bethesda needed that energy.
I mean,
Microsoft needed it. And
they
honestly,
did,
it sort of elevated their whole showcase, right?
right.
Which was fine, but honestly,
It
the stuff that was
definitely
missing
needed
was
to be cool.
disappointing, and this was good.
They also, oh my god, so they did release kind of like the PC specs and stuff, which also kind of makes me think I think they're going to hit their release date. I don't think it's going to slip, and if it does, it's not going to slip far. But
I think
released
they've spent the
requirements.
last year on like or half year or whatever on just polish, and what's his face, not Phil Spencer, but whatever.
Todd Howard?
Microsoft said that this
Todd
is
Howard?
like, yeah, this is no, not Todd Howard. This
Matt
is the
Booty?
most bug free
Bethesda game.
Bethesda game that Bethesda's ever shipped is what they're saying. Not bug free, but like the fewest bugs.
Mhm.
Right.
I don't know if I
Um,
believe that, but like
We'll see.
I
And there was
sure
a little
fucking
bit
hope
of
so.
there was a little bit of a fuss over the fact that they did say that the Xbox Series X and S is going to be locked at 30 frames per second, which is not entirely surprising, especially if you're trying to go for fidelity and you don't like if the trade-off is it runs at 30 frames per second but it lacks a lot of the like the bugs you typically associate with Bethesda because of it. I think it's kind of a fair trade. Also, it is coming out on PC and Game Pass and whatnot, and it seems to me they're implying that it'll run. You'll be able to run it at higher frame rates on
Well,
PC.
of course, if you have like a
Yeah.
powerful enough PC, like expecting a fucking Bethesda Game Studios game to run at 60 frames per second on console is insane.
It's silly.
Yeah.
It's one thing to believe the fucking early console generation, like fucking marketing basically from
I will
Sony and
say-
Microsoft saying that we have a 60 FPS future. That was never going to happen with third party developers. I guess this is technically first party now, but you know,
I will
it's been
say
developed
this could
mostly
also be
third party.
another instance of them shooting themselves in the foot when they said that they said if the Series S can't hit a certain frame rate, they're gonna look like the Xbox Series X is always going to match whatever the Series S can do. So the Series S sets the ceiling, right? So this might be a situation where like they could achieve 60 frames per second on the Xbox Series X, but because they can't do it on the Series S and they don't want them to have two different experiences, they're locking it at 30.
Yeah,
They
well,
would if
I
they
don't know
could.
if that's what's
It's
happening
not
here,
about
but
that.
I know it has happened before in the past. In fact, they've
Yeah.
delayed games in the past trying to get it to run better on the Series S because they don't want them to have different experiences across the two different
Yeah.
platforms. But
yeah, so
it's neither here nor there.
a couple things I want to mention. So on just to clarify what's going on there, it's 1440p 30 frames per second on Xbox Series S. On the X, it's 4K 30.
Right.
So
Yeah.
But
difference
all
there.
people see is 30. But all people
Yeah.
see is 30.
But the more important thing is it a stable 30? Because if
No.
it's unstable 30, then you got problems.
Well,
But this was never. It was never gonna be like. There's no fucking way it's gonna have performance. It's gonna in 4K. You know, you're gonna in a game like this.
Everybody-
You're gonna have some rocky performance. That's just. It's.
I
It's
need
not-
everybody
not
to
in the least
remember.
bit surprising.
I need everybody to just remember when they get upset about this, they just need to sit back and remember that they're enjoying the shit out of Zelda.
Yeah,
And
exactly, dude.
you'll be
None of
fine.
this is last generation. Fucking like on consoles. Fucking Bloodborne, Witcher 3. Those games ran like shit. This is not
Yeah.
surprising. It's just
Yeah.
We also may need to be prepared for the fact that we might be going back into 30 for the rest of the generation for being the default.
I mean, you're going to see this more and more and more, and then they're going to release a pro version, and then the base model games are going to run even shittier. It's just history is going to repeat itself. Video games have always been like this. There has never been a console that could consistently get 60 frames per second. But like, you know what? Those you could back then. You know, there were games that ran at 60 frames per second on the Nintendo 64, but
Mhm.
like F-Zero X or whatever. But that doesn't mean Zelda wasn't going to run at fucking 22 or whatever the fuck it did. It's just not
it's
how
insane.
developers think, you know, especially Western developers that develop their games like for the PC, basically, first and
Like,
foremost.
Fidelity
squeeze it
outweighs
onto a
frame
console.
rate.
All right.
Always,
Let's
always.
we need to move on because we still got a few more things to talk about before we cut to break. Ubisoft
Yeah.
Forward. Again, obviously Ubisoft, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on most of this. But there were a few big things. They opened with Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which, you know, obviously Avatar, I don't know how people here feel about that in general, but
I feel nothing.
I had a feeling Brad would feel nothing.
I'm only going to give it a shot because Massive developed this game. That's it.
Yes, this is a massive
How
entertainment
many
game.
games are they developing?
See, that was my surprise. I completely forgot that Massive was doing this as well. But they are. And now that we got a closer look at this, it does just look like a really kind of like it looks like a pretty like Far Cry game that takes place on Pandora, which, you know, I like Far Cry, so I don't know how I feel about Avatar. I had this really weird relationship with it where I'm like, I've seen both movies and they were both kind of like, okay, those are movies. Those are okay. I don't regret my time spending like watching them, but whatever. I'm not super invested in them. But
I mean,
like,
I look at this game and it feels like they were like, okay, we have to make this massive, massive open world game that we've never done in this style before. What do we use? Oh, Ubisoft already has this gigantic framework for Far Cry. We'll just fucking use that. Like,
I do think so. The interesting thing here, I think, is you get your own like flying mount that you kind of like bond with, and then like, but like it maneuvers very different than like a helicopter or a plane or whatever, and it's kind of like your main mode of transportation in this game.
yeah.
So I'm really interested to see how that works, and
It'll be
you know,
like a
I think-
Skywing from Skyward Sword.
Sure. So I don't know. I'm. It comes out in December. We got a release date for that, December 2023. This is probably be the last like big release of the year, if I had to guess.
Which
And I'll
game?
probably
I'm
give it.
sorry.
This is Avatar still, Brad. Wake up. We're still talking
Oh.
about Avatar.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we moved on. Sorry.
We will move on now. We got our first look of gameplay of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. And when I say that, I mean like we had seen a
I was
trailer
kinda
before,
mad.
but this is more of a little bit deeper
Yeah,
than that.
a little bit more. Well, we saw the guy playing it at least.
Right.
Not the actual, because it
Yeah.
kept cutting to the dude playing and we couldn't see the footage. It was annoying. I was kind of like, this looks fine, but like the Metroidvania, we sort of figured out. Some of the greatest games of all times are Metroidvanias. Like,
Yeah.
we figured it out. But they did say the developer is the 2D
Sorry,
games, right?
you broke up there a little bit. What did you say?
The developer is the developer of Montpellier or Pillier, whatever
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
actually
Yeah.
call it,
Mhm.
is the developer of
Rayman
the
Legends.
Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends, which are great fucking video games.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that has me a little more
I
excited.
think this looks really solid. They also did say, and I don't know, I don't remember exactly how they said this is going to work, but like they were kind of teasing the rewind mechanics from Sands of Time, but apparently the villain in the game uses them, not you. So I'm not really sure how that plays into the gameplay,
We
but
will
like,
see.
but it does sound like there's some pretty cool ideas at play here, and it is really nice to see Prince of Persia.
It
Uh,
reminded me a little bit of the Castlevania game on 3DS, and that's not a good feeling. Mirror of Fate, Lords of Shadow, Mirror of Fate.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
I think this is going to be a
remind me
little
of
bit
that a little
bigger,
bit.
more substantial than that.
We'll
This does not
see,
strike.
but
This
I'm
does
just
not strike
saying
me
the
as like a.
energy.
I don't know. I don't know where this is.
I
This is like one of the first releases of 2024, so we won't have to wait too long to find out more about it.
I did go ahead and look up the director for the game. And granted,
Don't do this. To me.
director is not the portrait of a game, but like he's never made a Metroidvania.
Okay.
His last two big games were Valiant Hearts and Zombie U.
Okay.
So
What's wrong with that?
that
Those are
is a little.
fine games.
That's a little strange, but they both have. I think people that played those games really liked them.
Yeah.
Those
I'm
are
just
liked
I would
games.
just hope that the actual Rayman team are the ones that
Oh,
are making this game.
I mean, the team doesn't share his exact history. I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
Let's move on. They mentioned Skull and Bones. Next, they mentioned Assassin's Creed Nexus, which is the VR thing. Next, I don't really know what to think about that.
Did they mention Skull and Bones? I don't remember.
I
They
think
did. They
did.
announced a
briefly,
closed
they
beta
did.
Show it?
test.
A closed
Okay.
beta test. They showed Assassin's Creed Mirage. We knew we were going to get a deep dive into the gameplay there.
God,
Um,
that's so boring. I know people have been asking for, I guess, a return to old Assassin's Creed, but let me
I
tell you,
have.
this looks like
I don't think this is going
they
to do
could have
anything
just
for
called it a
anybody.
remake.
I don't think this game is going to do anything for anybody that isn't still on board for Assassin's Creed, but people who are still fans of the series, I think are going to be really pleased
It
with
just
this.
reminds me of the first
Or
one. And the
maybe
first
people
one-
that actually
I
bid
mean-
on it for their fantasy critic. I mean, who knows?
It is
Oh,
it is Brad. It goes as far as this game has a. I don't think they mentioned this at the showcase, but they've already confirmed that it has a mode that you can toggle like a visual mode, like a graphics mode that gives it the same color palette as the original Assassin's Creed game, like the bluish, grayish. You
Yeah.
know? So like they are definitely trying to appeal to like people who want a throwback to the original Assassin's Creed,
Sure.
but it
Yeah.
is
A lot of people don't like the first Assassin's Creed. That was a
Well,
very divisive game.
I mean,
Yeah,
too bad
it
for
has
them
issues.
because evidently the original Assassin's Creed is going to be DLC for this game. So
Here's the
What?
thing. Yes, that is rumored. That is rumored.
Mm.
been
But here's the
rumored for a
thing.
very long time.
Yes. But here's the thing. Assassin's Creed, even before it made the jump to like the RPG, right? They had honed the mechanics of Assassin's Creed to a much better place, and I think fans will really appreciate being able to go back and play kind of in the same time frame and same kind of setting as the original, but have like those improved mechanics. And it is a different story. It is a new story, new character, not a new character to the series as a whole generally, but the point is, I think it's going to be nostalgic and new at the same time. So that's kind of exciting.
I mean, from my perspective, it looks like they're taking Basim, who was a favorite character of what was it? It wasn't
Valhalla?
Odyssey. It was
I think he was in
It was-
Valhalla.
Valhalla too. Okay, well, like I think their
Oh,
approach
he was
with
in
him,
Revolutions or Revelations. Sorry, Revolutions is the Matrix. Revelations.
I don't. I know. I think it's the Egypt
We're
one, but
getting into the
whatever.
weeds here.
The point is we're arguing about that. But like, I think they're taking the approach of his character storytelling, like what they tried to do with Ezio in Assassin's Creed 2. You know, flesh him out, grow him up, turn him into a proper assassin, and give him character development. And
And
that's nice.
I think you're building out like a home base kind of situation. Not
Yeah.
Point is, this could be cool. We'll see what happens. We'll find out. We'll see how many points Chris Davis gets on his Fantasy Critic. All right, let's get to the real important shit here.
14.
They gave us a deep dive into Star Wars Outlaws, which is, without question, my hypest moment of the entire Summer Game Fest season, I think. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but
They look
I was
cool.
very,
Look
very hesitant on this at first because after we got the first trailer at Microsoft, I was very concerned that this was actually secretly going to be kind of like a games as a service thing. This is the team that the Division. They made their name on the Division, but they kept saying it's a open world story narrative focused game, right? But they stopped there. They stopped just shy of saying single player game. Getting a look at this gameplay demonstration, which was about 10 to 12 minutes, I think, gave us, I think, kind of clarified everything because you were playing as a one singular character. I can't remember.
A lady.
What's her name? I don't have it in front of me. It's like it starts with a K, I think. Point is,
It's a lady with a blaster.
you're playing with a lady outlaw,
scoundrel.
who has a scoundrel. She has a droid for a companion and a cute little alien dog thing, right? And
Kay Vess is her name.
yes, and her name's literally Kay. Okay. And they showed, a big sequence like kind of like infiltrating a like an underground base and then going out into an open world, getting on a speeder bike and going through this high speed chase through the desert, ending up in this little town, going into a bar, leaving the bar when you realize you might be in trouble, getting on a ship and seemingly seamlessly leaving the system by flying into space and then going into hyperdrive from there and going to a different planet. Like, it all seemed, obviously it's very curated, right? We don't know exactly how this is, and let's be clear, because I think a lot of people have expectations. Everyone wants that No Man's Sky experience, right? When you get in a ship and you fly into the sky and you enter the clouds, and you seemingly stay in the clouds for a little bit, even if you can kind of move the ship around, you are in a loading screen. They are masking the loading, right? But it gives you that seamless feel, and it is cool.
Sure.
Being able
But
to
when
fly
you take
from
off,
the ground.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't. When
I
you
think
if
people
you
just have
take
really
off and you have no
unrealistic
control,
expectations.
there's no in-atmosphere flight, and you can't. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
I mean, the two things
it really
that
doesn't. It
Chris
seems
is
like
not here. We can let it go.
the two things that really stood out to me were number one, the binary choice stories stuff that they showed off, and number two, evidently there's like a wanted system to where the Empire will hunt you down, and if you paid attention in the upper left hand corner, it had like a symbol of the Empire, but it was like multiple segments were lit up, so it felt like the GTA style stars.
that's pretty
wanted
cool.
rating.
I mean, and they have confirmed it takes place in between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, so the Empire has not yet been defeated. And I don't know, I'm really, really excited. I think it looks beautiful. I think the character looks awesome. And I'm still hot off the heels of Jedi Survivor, and I want more story-driven single player, because like there's for so long Star Wars I feel like has been relegated to MMOs and first-person shooters. I know you're shaking your head, Brad, but that's how it's felt to me for a very long time. But whatever. I don't know what the shaking of your head means, Brad. This is the audio podcast. You want to use your words?
Did they say this is single player?
Yes. I mean, no.
They
not
didn't
out loud.
explicitly say the words, but like
You are playing as a singular character.
yes.
Like it is a
what they said?
story about one
Like in
character.
Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Brad, I know what you're trying to do.
What's that?
Be a dick.
You're trying to be
Let's
a dick.
move on.
No, I'm just saying we don't really know. And if it is a true single player game, I feel like they would have said that, right? Don't they want people to know that?
That's
There's a
what
lot
I
of
keep.
people out
That's
there
what I've
like
been
you.
saying, Brad. That's what I've been saying. But every time I bring this up, And especially after they showed this at the Ubisoft conference, I get multiple messages from people being like, Nick, it's cool, it's fine, you can be happy again, it's a single player game, even though explicitly they haven't said the words single player game. But I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I don't think they would have made it through 2 presentations without saying, oh, by the way, this is a multiplayer game, or this is a games as a service game. I don't think this is that. They are using words like single player, or they're using words like narrative focused open world game. Those are the 2 buzzwords that they're using. I don't think if this was actually like The Division, I think they would have said it by now. And it's coming out next year. So
I was more just challenging the whole, like, I feel like you've been eating good. You just got off of Jedi Survivor. Last couple of Star Wars games of note were single player. That space shooter game had a single player campaign.
I played that. But it was all. But
that's what I'm saying. You've been eating good.
I have
no. I have not been.
I don't
give a shit about battle. I don't give a shit.
Game of the year is literally a single player Star Wars game. Shame on you.
That's what I'm talking about. What are you doing right now? I just said Star Wars Jedi Survivor is to me like the return to Star Wars as a predominantly single player story centric game. For so long it's been MMOs, first person shooters with shitty single player campaigns. They made Squadrons, which was cool, but it was like a flight sim before it was like that's Brad?
No, I got you.
Pissing me off. You're pissing me off. Fallen Order, single player Star Wars can't just be Respawn. Like, there's got to be something. You can't just say one game and a sequel to that game and then say single player Star Wars fans have been eating good for a long time. Star Wars is so much bigger than that. But whatever.
Not a long
we need to.
But it's
we
good.
need to move
You're
on.
right. It's good. It used to be real bad with licensed movie games and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time since that bad
KOTOR, KOTOR was turned into an MMO, and I know everybody says the story in that game is good, but let's be honest, it's an MMO. I'm never going to play it. And I know that's a me problem. That's not anybody else's problem, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I only have one specific issue with that demo. Otherwise, I enjoyed what I watched. But everything I've seen of it, the game is presented in a 21:9 aspect ratio. So it's...
You nerd.
No,
nerd.
No, here's the thing, is that you remember The Evil Within? There's a distinct possibility they're doing that with the aspect ratio.
The Evil Within did not bother me.
I didn't like that. I
don't
adamant against
that. That sounds like a Chris Davis problem, but also
may just be.
But also it's too early to see. It's a stage show. All right. I know I have a couple other things in the doc here, but we need to take a break. I'll rattle those off when we get back, and then we'll talk about Diablo and Final Fantasy XVI. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We still got a lot of cool, fun stuff to talk about. Oh, that's so okay. Welcome back to the show, everybody. We had a couple other news topics, but I think we decided that we're going to save one of them for Chris Davis's 4-player minute at the end of the show, and one of them we're just going to scrap all together. So we are ready to talk about video game impressions. And per Nolan, Nolan said he wanted to end the show on a good note. So he said we should start with Diablo 4.
Damn.
Nolan hasn't even played Diablo 4.
I know, that's the irony of it, I guess.
So Chris Davis, no, let's just get right into it. You think it's lame, or what's the deal? This is your first Diablo game. You don't have to say first Blizzard game. No one cares. It's your first Diablo game, right?
Okay, let me.
Do
you have any experience with this sort of ARPG?
I have had some experience in the past with ARPGs. The two that the several that really come to mind when I've.
What is this overlay you're using? Have you been using the wrong overlays the entire show? I'm sorry.
We got footage.
I see Alan Wake in the background. I know that's not what I sent you.
Oh, sorry. Well, 1 second. I'll fix that.
I mean, I didn't mean to derail the conversation just so you could fix the overlay. The overlay matters absolutely nothing.
Nick, also, by the way, we've not had like any footage this whole.
Yeah,
show. I know. Okay, there we go. But has Alan Wake been the background for the entire show?
No, it has not. I'm certain. Okay.
Okay, I'm just checking.
To answer Brad's original question, I go back to like the Crusader games, Crusader No Remorse, Crusader No Regret.
Okay.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance, things like that. I have played these kinds of RPGs.
I, on the other hand, have not. This is my first.
You never played Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance?
I've never played any ARPG of this style, especially Diablo. But I've always had an interest in it, and I've always wanted
Torchlight?
to.
Y'all never played Torchlight?
I never played Torchlight, no.
Okay.
But I've had my eye on like over the years, like 5 or 6 of them that I know I've been eager to try. And the hype around Diablo 4 was obviously pretty. There's a lot of people really excited for this game, and I decided to just jump on the hype train. I picked it up, and I have not played nearly as much. I know Chris Davis is like level like 48
what did you think
or something.
about the opening hours before we get to Chris
Who are you
Davis?
talking to, me or Chris Davis?
Nick. Nick.
Oh.
Nick. What did you think about? You're playing basically what was in that beta.
Right.
Up to this
I'm not.
point?
Yeah, and I didn't play the beta at all, so I don't really even know where that ended. I'm like 4 or 5 hours into it at this point. I'm still kind of learning the ropes, I suppose. I'm playing as a necromancer, a lady necromancer named Glory, and the guy left on the horse, Loranth, I think his name, left on the horse, and I have not met up with him again yet. So I'm still, again, very, very early. I just cleared out like a fort of vampires, and whatnot. So I guess what I can say about this, because I'm not going to have a ton to contribute to this conversation.
Like, was the fort made of wood? It seems like a dangerous place for vampires.
Yeah, you could get a splinter and that's it.
Yeah, you can go pretty quick.
You have to get a splinter in the heart.
Yeah, careful.
What are the
careful
odds?
about that. Your answer there, Nick. You don't want to stake your reputation on this.
Oh God, that was bad. That was pretty good, actually. All right. What I can say is, being new to the series, being new to this genre, I am enjoying kind of the general, the loop. I like the vibe of the game. I like the look of the game. What I am struggling with a bit is that this is what I was not expecting, was that, and I am still kind of learning how world tier stuff works, right? So I started with world tier 1 because that's kind of what it recommended for people who've never played this game, and then I realized this is fucking easy as hell. So I upped it to world tier 2, and it's giving me a little more pushback on it, which is good, I suppose. But I wasn't really expecting this to feel quite as I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a word that doesn't sound too negative. It's kind of monotonous. It's kind of monotonous. Like, it's kind of and I've heard a lot of people describe it as this is the kind of game where you can just like play for hours and have like podcasts going in the background and stuff. But I can't do that. I've never done that. I've never been that kind of person. I will never do that. So like, I told
Malia that we from now on, because I'm playing with Malia, we will only play this game while watching something.
You see, that blows my mind. I would never do that.
And I told her we will be skipping every story conversation unless it's a cutscene, and we have to watch something.
Yeah, see, and that's that hurts my heart hearing you say that.
We've been watching 60 Days In season 2. I'm
I don't
running
even
a
want
druid.
to ask
She's
what
running
that
a
is.
barbarian.
I don't want to know what that is. Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that like I'm still trying to kind of like I'm still very early and I'm still trying to get like the general loop down and whatnot, and it feels easy right now, and I know that's probably going to change.
Well, one, you're playing a fucking necromancer, and
that's another thing. One thing I did not expect about playing a is I just picked it because I thought it looked cool and sounded cool. I didn't know
necromancers are super cool.
But like, should I play as a druid? It was either that or a druid.
No, whatever. You can't pick a bad class. It's just traditionally necromancer kind of face rolls the game. They struggle with like bosses, especially once the game gets harder, and there's not a lot of stuff to like make new skeletons because you're just fighting a hard boss.
Right.
But generally, when you're just sort of like rolling through the world, like necromancers kick ass. But like Diablo is also supposed to think until you get to like late game hard hell mode or whatever in Diablo 2, you're it is supposed to be like I'm a walking for like God, right? You're supposed to be just like killing waves and waves of things.
But that's how I already
quite
feel.
Easily. I know, but that's Diablo.
Okay.
Most
I wasn't
of the game
expecting that.
should feel like that, honestly. You're supposed to feel really powerful.
Okay, so I'm glad to hear you say that because I was starting to feel like I was doing something.
If
I was
don't feel
something.
really powerful, your build sucks, or you really need to get some better loot.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the vibe of Diablo. You want to feel really, really powerful.
Okay. I just didn't think that feeling would come so quickly.
It
You
is
know what I mean?
ironic though. There is like level scaling in this one, which is weird.
Yeah.
That's a new
I'm
thing for
not.
the series?
Yeah, well, it is for me at least. I mean, I'm a Diablo 2 guy, but I don't know. It's strange. Yeah, I don't know. What do you tell Chris Davis? You tell me about it. No one wants to hear my opinions on this game.
Yeah, I'm having some trouble with this game. The level scaling kind of really eats at me. But the bigger problem I'm having is that I have gotten to a meta loop with my rogue that I cannot find an improvement to. I feel like I plateaued in Act
You doing
1.
twisting blades or what?
No, I'm doing Flurry.
Okay.
Because if you take Flurry and you combine that, so the loop I have is I shoot my ranged weapon, I hit an enemy 3 times, they go into a vulnerable state. If I rush in and do Flurry, any enemy around them also get put into vulnerable state. So I can smash through a ton of enemies really quickly. The problem is I haven't found an improvement to that. I feel like
So
I'm
you're kind of
just stuck
stuck.
in this.
You've hit the ceiling. You feel like you've hit the ceiling a little too
Yeah.
early,
Well, I mean, a
which is
lot of the cooler
probably not
stuff
the case.
kind of
But
comes like towards the end of the game and like post game, in game
Yeah, but the
stuff
fact that I had to
when you
play through
start
the
getting
entire
to like
game,
the
get to level
crazier.
50 in order to get that stuff annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because like I don't think I will ever have as fun with Diablo as I did with Diablo 2, but like when I think of my experience with Diablo 2, like playing through the game, like the story and like getting to like those first, getting to the point where there's no more skills to earn, you know what I mean? Like where you've maxed out your skill trees or whatever, your build. Like that's like 1% of my experience playing Diablo 2. The rest of it
okay,
comes
so,
after
okay,
that. And
somebody
like any
explain
other
this to
character
me.
I make gets fucking rushed and I get to like the level I not max level obviously, but I get to level 70, 80 in like an hour. It's
Okay,
not even.
at the risk of sounding totally and completely ridiculous and dumb, somebody please explain this to me because I still am trying to wrap my because I am the kind of person and I'm gonna play this game and as soon as credits roll I'm gonna feel like this experience is done. But that's where people say the game starts and I don't get it because you just said
Yeah.
you max level and max out your skill trees is like 1% of the experience for you.
Well, your build. You get to
What
your.
is beyond that? Like I don't understand what is beyond that.
Well,
That's
there's like a
interesting.
ton of shit beyond that.
Yeah.
Like stuff
So
that like
explain it to me.
changes completely. You start getting like crazier loot. Like a big part of this one is like the aspects, which later in the game can like you can get like a skill on like a a weapon or a piece of armor that could like significantly changes your build. And then in this one, you can take those aspects and sort of put them on the weapons and stuff that you want.
Yeah.
And it's
You,
like doing the dungeons and stuff that get you those things that are like crazy.
you
And
basically
some of
build
them
your
are
own
just
legendary items.
And
insane, right?
that sounds cool.
And
I'm
like some of
just
them
so
are cool.
confused. I'm
Like
so
someone
confused by the
mentioned
fact
an
that
aspect.
wait, real quick, just because like what I keep running up against in my head is like that makes sense to me, but why do I already feel like a fucking god fought
That's
5 hours into
because you're
this
on
game?
world tier 1 and it's
No, I'm
easy.
on two.
It's okay, but still you're in act 1. You're early on in act 1,
I
honestly.
know. I
And
feel like this should be much more challenging to me at this point.
no, that's not Diablo. That's you're.
Uh,
I don't know
okay,
what franchise you thought this was, but that's not really Diablo.
okay,
Like all Diablo games are like easy at first, honestly.
okay. Well, I guess
They
I'm just
get
waiting for the
harder.
shoe to drop. So we'll see.
Like the further you get in the game and the harder difficulties, you start running into like mid bosses that have like all these fucking effects and they're immune to like half of the shit you do, and it's like, dude, like this is insane. But like that doesn't happen until much later.
Okay. I
It
mean,
just doesn't.
I do intend to keep kind
And
of
you're a
going to keep going.
necromancer. I mean
Is
that's
it?
like
And I'm
you have
contemplating
your skeletons
changing.
are doing all the work for you.
And somebody actually messaged me in Discord today. I apologize, I forget who it was. But like one of the big problems I've been having at playing as a necromancer is that like when I summon a bunch of skeletons, now I can summon 2 different kinds of skeletons and like up to 5 each. So I end up in a situation where I have 10 summoned skeletons running around the world with me, and then I go into a battle against like 30 dudes, And let me tell you, I have no idea where I am on screen. I have no clue which
Okay,
direction
just
I'm
throw some
looking.
curses on them or whatever the fuck
But
necromancer do
apparently,
in this game.
apparently, somebody told me there's a setting you can turn on that highlights you,
Yes.
and I
Yeah,
don't
just go
have
to the
that
settings
on.
there.
I'm gonna turn that on next time because I lose myself so quickly in this game.
Yeah, you can turn
Um,
that on. When
so
you're playing co-op with with my wife, there's like color circles that appear below you, which
okay,
helps
well
big time.
that's helpful. Also, another thing that bugs me playing as Necromancer is that you can't just desummon your skeletons at any time. I mean, I can go into a menu, and if you change the setting that's associated to your skeletons from like make them from offensive to defensive, they'll all go away until you summon more. But I don't. There's not a button on the controller that I can just be like, okay, now I'm just running around the world, and I want to get rid of them. Like I don't want to be running around the world with 10 dudes. I want to just be running around the
Why
world
do
as
you want to
myself.
get rid of your skeletons? That's so. Well, you're a necromancer. That's horrible. Why are you
I mean,
saying
because
that?
like I don't. I don't know. It feels weird to me running around the. Okay, see, this is. I feel like a dunce playing this fucking game. Like because I'm enjoying it, and I intend to keep going with it. But like I feel so just completely out of my element. Like it never would have occurred to me that was a weird thing for me to say. That I
It's
want to get
not.
rid of my
It's. I mean, I
skeletons.
hate to say it, but like, man, Diablo fans, they care about builds. They care about like the post game. They care about loot. They care about
I
like
guess
legendary rare drops. Like it's
I've never
if you
played
don't
a
know the
post
value of a
game.
Stone of Jordan, man, get out.
I mean, but
It
here's the
ain't for
thing:
you.
I'll never know it. I'll never know it unless I play it, right? So I'm
But
just, I
but even getting to the credits, you're never gonna know, and that's fine. Honestly, that's
but
fine. How do you feel
maybe by
about the
that
cutscene?
point, I will have like
Mm.
my opinion will have changed, and I'll want to keep going. I don't know
You say
because I
that,
hear
but
people
I
saying that.
think about your time with Monster Hunter, which you had a good time, but you still didn't play Monster Hunter the way that most like Monster Hunter fans play Monster Hunter, and that's fine. You had a good time, and I have a feeling that will probably happen with this game, but that doesn't mean you're gonna understand what is going on in the brains of Diablo fans.
Sure.
And why they're going to play it for 500 hours and you'll play it for 60,
Yeah,
right?
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine playing this game for 500 hours.
Because they will
Um,
make every single character and run every single build on every single character and get all the cool stuff. Dude, I was playing a fucking sorceress and somebody said, dude, somebody in chat or whatever said, I got an aspect with my druid that turns all of my summoned wolves into fucking werewolves. And I'm like, dude, that is fucking cool.
that
So I made
sounds
a
cool.
druid. I
That
made a
sounds cool.
druid.
So I was actually contemplating playing Druid as well, and I think there's part
It's
of me
the
that will
most
be
boring
interested.
class. Don't make a
I
druid.
think there's part of me that will be interested in trying other classes
Yeah,
once
they're
the
cool.
itch gets me, because I do think the itch will get me.
I begged my wife to play a druid just so I can see someone be a werebear, and she wouldn't do it. She's like, "No, I'm gonna be the barbarian." I'm like, "Look, it's almost like an barbarian. Barbarian, you're still hitting things. You don't have to think about it. You're just a fucking bear when you do it." And I'm like, "That's cool, right?" And we watched a little video that talked about the classes, and they're like, "The most simple, basic. You don't have to think about the game at all. Play barbarian." And my wife's like, "That's the one." And they're like, "Druid's like a barbarian, just a slightly more complex." And she's like, "Not for
Nope.
me." And I'm like, "Fuck. I just want to see
Man.
a werebear punch things while I zap things from afar." But
Yeah,
she wouldn't do it. But
for
she's
my
a barbarian, and her favorite skill is kick, where she just kicks enemies away and they fly away. I'm like, wow,
She kicks
that's
them toward
fucking crazy exciting. Thanks. I
she
get to
kicks
watch
them
a
towards
barbarian.
you. She kicks them towards you so you can take care
It's
of them.
fine. It's fine.
What
We're
are you
watching
playing
60
as?
Days
Oh, you're
In.
playing as a rogue, Chris Davis,
I'm
right?
a rogue. In fact, in this footage, I've encountered the first other rogue player I found in like nearly 30 hours of playing this
What are you
fucking game.
talking about? Rogues are very popular. Those twisting blades or whatever is
I
like
th-
fucking nonsense.
Well, I never tried the twisting blades because I kind of was going for more crowd control than actually singular targets. But like
Well, if you're playing solo, yeah, sure.
yeah, I'm only playing solo. Like
Yeah, people in chat
occasionally
are
I'll
like, "Is Nick playing co-op?" And I'm like, "Ha! You clearly don't know who you're talking to. I'm playing.
This is
I'm
such
making
like a
scowling faces when I
co-op.
see other players. Like I'm like, oh, get out of my game."
I'll say this, Nick. Like of all games, it's not like playing. They're gonna ruin the tone of this horror game that I want to play or
No, no,
whatever.
no, no.
Nick, you playing this with other people is going to be like no different than you playing by yourself.
I know.
You'll just have
I mean,
people to talk to keep you from getting bored.
quite honestly, this is the kind of game because one, I want to make sure I want to kind of. So obviously, I don't have a lot of love for the games as a service type game, which is what this is to an extent, right? And I don't play this kind of
In
like
the
multiplayer
post-game.
experience very much. But you know, I want to experience a Diablo game. It's a series I've always kind of been interested in, but I've never given it a try. So I want to get serious about it. So at some point, I am probably going to want to play with other people, like you said, to maybe cut into the monotony a little bit, right? So like this seems like it'd be a fun streaming game to like get some people from the community to play with me on the stream. So I could see myself doing that in the future. I just don't know when.
It's a game to stream when you really want to talk to chat.
That's a good point.
Oh
Which
man,
they want to talk to you.
Yeah.
So
I never.
you
Oh
know,
man, I never want to talk to chat. I'm just kidding. That's a lie.
well, if they show up, yeah,
No,
the struggle's real. But
the
yeah.
struggle is real.
Can I mention a very specific gripe I have about this fucking game?
Yeah.
Sure.
No, you can't do that on this podcast.
Why in the flying fuck do you have to finish Act 3 of this game
Yes,
to get a fucking horse?
Oh, these fucking assholes! I thought I was
Really?
gonna get this shit right away.
That is absurd.
Your mount. You have to play so much of this game through Act 3, which is how many hours have you played, Chris Davis?
About 30 at this point.
It is not a short
Jesus.
video game. He
No.
still doesn't have a mount. This is like Xenoblade X. What the fuck?
Like,
But instead of getting a cool mech, you're waiting for a horse.
yeah. and the real problem
You do-
is
it
that
does go pretty fast.
the real problem is that, I mean,
Turtle.
sure, if you just mainline the story and don't do any fucking side quests, which is kind of impossible to do for me, like, yeah, you could probably get to it, within single-digit hours. But this map
Maybe.
is so fucking boring to me, and just nonsense corridors instead of like open areas. This is the first like major open area I found, and it's a fucking desert. Oh boy,
Okay, so let's talk
that's
about
great.
that. Let's talk about that for a second because I feel like
The snakes look cool.
I feel like going open world was kind of everyone's making a big deal about this becoming kind of an open world game, right? And again, I have no history with Diablo. And maybe Brad's the best person to ask about this in that case. Like, what does this open world do for Diablo, if anything? Or do you think this was a
Nothing.
mistake?
No, it's not a mistake.
It's not a mistake.
It's not a mistake. Honestly, I feel no different than if they were like different, areas. But like the fact that they're connected doesn't even really matter to me. It's not like there's nothing interesting about navigating the world except that it's slower when you don't have a horse. They're
Yeah.
still connected in kind of
Damn it.
pathy ways.
Yeah.
They're still connected in kind of pathy ways, like in between, like I don't even know what to call them, tiles. There's big open spaces, but then you're going to go down a short path, and that's going to take you into another big open space. It's an open world, but it doesn't matter. Walking to a different biome is no different than traveling to Act 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever in any other Diablo game, honestly. But again, I haven't really played enough to like understand the charms of that open world. I mean, you do stumble into like events and stuff, but again, there's nothing about it being open world that makes that stuff happen.
There's nothing
either,
refreshing
so-
about it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. It's cool. I bet it'll be more exciting when I have a horse, maybe, but I don't.
Damn it! Everybody
don't
wants
know.
the horse.
Well,
The horse
you just want to be able
horse
to
changes everything.
traverse quickly. You want to be able to traverse quickly. I fast travel everywhere. You town portals and stuff. Whatnot.
Yeah, this is a game you have to fast travel because
It's
it is such a
they've
massive
streamlined
map.
a lot of things and made it like very friendly, and like I like how you can transmog with no like sort of cost. To all you have to do is salvage your equipment instead of like selling it, and
Yeah.
you'll see a little icon that says if you salvage this, you can apply that look to anything you want. And you literally, it doesn't cost any money. You just go to your wardrobe and you're like, I want to look like this, and this with these colors, and you can just do it. It doesn't cost anything.
That's cool.
Also,
Which
I
is
think
neat.
this game has a money balance problem because number one, like there's the rewards for quests get you so little cash that it's not worth it. And number two, like you're always going to find better loot out in the field than what you could buy at a vendor. So why would you
Right.
spend the money?
I mean,
Like,
are there-
really,
aren't
the
there
only
other
purpose
things
to
you spend
money
money
is
on?
I mean, if
for
you're
you to-
rolling for for like legendaries or whatever. I mean, they
Yeah.
have systems in place. I mean, yeah, I mean,
But
you
like
don't,
the
you
real
don't,
the
you
real
don't buy stuff. This is Diablo. You finish the fucking game, you make the build you want to do, and then you kill Mephisto, 7,000 times until you get the exact items you want. That's Diablo.
Yeah, but I've experienced this gameplay loop. It's called The Division, and I know what loot is about, and I'm not getting the
Oh my
appeal.
There you
God, the
go.
Division.
The Division is just a fucking Diablo game. You know exactly what this kind of game is.
Yeah, but
I
this
mean,
Division's
Destiny is
more
a fucking
fun.
Diablo game. The camera's moved, but it's still this genre.
I guess that's
If
true.
we had told Nick that this is a Destiny like, he would have never touched it. But that's exactly
No,
what it
but
is.
I know these things, Brad. I
No.
I didn't pick this game up thinking this was like some single player open world adventure game. I knew what this was. In fact, right in the box it says, online connection required because you're playing with other people, and it's just
Right out of the box,
and
it says it's like Destiny.
more or less, yeah. Um, but like this is a case where I'm like first of all, I feel like I'm digging myself a hole here by
The
saying
demons
this,
look
but
cool.
like the subject matter of this game feels like it speaks to me. and and I've always wanted to play and really get into a Blizzard game. I've just been kind of waiting for the one that works for me, and I was like, this could be it. And I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it on other podcasts and stuff, and I just wanted to give it a shot, especially because I don't want to sit here and just paint with a wide brush and say that I hate all games like this or whatever. And so I was like, this is the one I'm gonna give it a shot. And I don't intend on putting this game down. We'll see how it goes. I do find it very interesting that I feel like
gotta
the
say,
reception on
I'm
this
gonna make a
podcast is very
hot
different
dog
than
bet.
others. And not only is the reception on this podcast seem very different than the other people are like raving about this game, but also I feel like the
Are
reception of
they?
this
I
podcast on this
I feel like
podcast.
it's turning a little bit on this game. I feel like more
Yes,
and more I'm seeing that people are like, eh.
I think it's happening faster here for some reason. And also, again, I want to stress we haven't had a chance to talk to Crispy about this, so I
Where
don't
is he?
want to sit here.
Does anybody know where he is in the game?
I don't know, but I
I
think
don't
he's
know.
played quite a bit of it.
Like
Um,
I think that this is everything a Diablo 2 fan would mostly want out of it. But for a new player like me, there's a lot of quality of life stuff that they could do that would make the experience much better.
and I
Like
do think it's going to get smoother over time because they're going to be
it will.
adding and fixing some of these
They
these
they
quality of
they
life
will.
things.
This is Blizzard's baby for the next year. Like Overwatch is a secondary concern for them now. This is going to be their
Nick,
big
what do you
money
get out
maker.
of watching this footage? Like when Chris Davis does his arrow rain or whatever, you're like, oh, that looks pretty cool and flashy.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you
I mean, I had that exact thought. I was like, this looks pretty cool.
but that's what I'm saying. Like that's part of the appeal of Diablo is like as you get further into the game and your builds, like stuff gets like real crazier and like flashier, and like you're gonna see that stuff with the Necromancer as well. It gets pretty insane
Okay, I
looking.
mean, again, I know there's a certain part of me talking about this having only played 5 hours of this game, and I know I've barely scratched the surface of it. So,
Yeah.
but
Look,
it's also
this
a time
this
when
is
Zelda is still sitting on my pile of shame, and Final Fantasy comes out next week, and
Diablo might as well be like the West Dynasty Warriors, except it's like respected and not like insulted or something, But it's always been pretty mindless and becoming god powerful. It's just
you were about to make a hot dog bet. What was the hot dog bet you were gonna make?
oh, you're not gonna finish this fucking game.
I
You're
knew
not gonna
that's what you were
finish
gonna
it at
say.
all.
I
Now
would
I
take that hot
now
dog
I
bet and
have.
agree with Brad. Like you're not going to finish this game.
No,
Now I feel like I have to. Nolan, what do you think? Do you think I'm gonna finish this game?
I think no one wants to
And
talk about Final Fantasy
if
16.
it means I get a free hot dog, I'll say you'll finish, Nick.
All right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna finish it before next week. I'm just kidding. That's a complete lie. All right. What else do we want to say? Do we want to save some rest of this conversation for when Crispy's here and can chime in on it, and we've all played
Yeah,
more of it?
absolutely.
Okay. Diablo 4. Let's move on. All right.
Okay, wait,
So
real quick, hot take. What the fuck is the point of an open world if you're just fast traveling everywhere anyways? Open world, like stop making them if you're not giving the player interesting ways to get around it. And let me tell you, a horse like really far into the game ain't cutting it anyways, even if
Or
you
no,
give it
like
to us right from the beginning. Like, look, we're living in a post Tears of the Kingdom world and your games suck now. So fuck you, Blizzard.
And also like give us interesting worlds to
Damn.
traverse if it's going to be like that.
Yeah,
like,
maybe like level design.
the
But
map
whatever,
of
it's
Diablo is
Diablo. So are the dungeons. It's Diablo. It's fine.
All right, so let's move on to the other major game we want to talk about this week. Final Fantasy XVI finally got its demo. It's out. I think most of us here, except for Chris Davis, have played it. And
it is the start of the game. Progress
it's the
carries
start
over.
of the game. First 2 hours of the game, more or less, and it carries over to the final product, which comes out next Thursday, I think.
Correct.
So, where do we want to start with this? First of all, I want to say,
Crispy not even in chat here.
no, I haven't seen him. He's probably sleeping. So I do want to say, one, since this was my first pick for on the draft for Fantasy Critic.
Strong pick.
And I did that. I did that at the time, knowing that I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy. I think more often than not, they're winners. I know it's been a bit of a struggle for the series in the past few years, as far as like the 13, and then how they tried to like pivot on that and make 15 out of 13, which was weird. And 14 is obviously an MMO, but people love that game, and there's a lot of crossover in the development talent making this game as 14. So a lot of reason to be optimistic. But I also, when I bid on that, I hadn't yet felt the itch or like the real. I knew it was there. I knew it was probably coming, but I didn't feel like the excitement. And even right up to the moment I booted up the demo, I was like, this looks more like a Devil May Cry game than a Final Fantasy game. I'm just saying at first glance, like watching, because there's obviously a lot of trailers that focus very heavily on like combat and like fast cuts, right? So wasn't really sure how to feel about it. And we're gonna get into this, but I do want to say, having played about an hour and a half of this demo myself, I haven't finished it. I feel much more optimistic about this game than I did going into it.
And tell me why.
And I would also argue, Nick, that the last like 20 minutes of the demo are like some of the
Yeah.
best stuff
Yeah.
in the demo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
So even
you
if you've
motherfucker.
enjoyed what you've played, you
Yeah.
haven't even gotten to the good part yet.
Right. And you know, and I'm very much looking forward to finishing it up. I'm almost kind of like, do I want to finish the demo or just wait until next Thursday and just so I don't have to stop when I get to the end of it? But what I will say to kind of, I guess, kick things off, is that I watched a lot of the marketing building up to this game, and I know there was a lot of discourse online. Like people were like, "Oh, this doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy game, right?" I think that's kind of
This course has been very positive generally. Mostly
It has.
because
It
Yoshi
has. It
P's
has.
team is involved with this.
Right. What I was most surprised about going into this, one, you know, it is really really cool seeing a quote unquote universe that I'm familiar with. You see all the stuff. You see the chocobos. You hear the music, which I think the music is really cool because it walks this really fine line between being familiar and also being like really kind of like epic, and it feels like it would be right at home in something like Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
But you still hear like the crystal theme and
It's a medieval take on a traditional Final Fantasy like themes and jingles and the fanfare and stuff.
Yeah, and that's really cool. And then on top of that, you also have a story that I think is much more mature, I guess is the word I'd go with, than
I would say
think we've seen.
it's going back to you know Final Fantasy like 12 story.
Mhm.
Like it actually
It's
has
very
some
Matsu.
meat. Yeah, it has meat. It has like characters that are like
Political
relevant.
intrigue and
Yeah.
I so far like the voice acting and character animation and just the writing so far seems super top notch. I didn't I didn't know, because you know a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's like Game of Thrones by way of Final Fantasy," and I was like, "But how actual Game of Thronesy is this?"
Very
Right?
much.
Very much
or
so.
a Song of Ice and Fire, you can
Yes.
say.
Mhm.
But
Right.
yes.
More like a
Um,
song of fire and fire.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And you know,
Okay.
I know a lot of the marketing too is also super heavily focused on like the big icon battles, right? Like the big
Yeah.
summons.
Mhm.
Which I was like, that looks cool, but like, does it really feel Final Fantasy to me? And like,
Well, the one
but
in the
like,
demo, I'll say, is not like fun to play. But
Yeah.
if you've been following the stuff where you're Ifrit versus like Garuda, for example, that stuff looks actually pretty fun to play. Shooting Ifrit as Phoenix
was
like
kind of. I mean, it was
for
just
very extended periods of time, which you do a lot more of that towards the end of the demo. It's like, well, this looks cool, but it's not super fun to play.
right.
They could
I
they
also
could have
don't think
shortened
it's
that
the main
sequence
focus.
a little bit, but I know they
Yeah.
were trying to make it like epic. But yeah.
That stuff gets better later from what I've seen.
Um. So yeah, like coming out, like and now that I've gotten hands-on time with the combat, I think the combat feels really nice, and reactive
I will
and
say,
fast-paced, and but at the same
once you
time, it
finish the
does feel
demo,
technical. It does feel
once you finish
technical.
the
Like
demo, it unlocks a second demo, I guess you
Yeah.
could say.
yeah,
Mhm.
And that's sort of like a combat demo from like later in the game where you have, 3 sets of icon abilities and you can
Mhm.
switch between them
see,
on the
that's
fly,
the
like
one I don't think I
offensive
want to
space.
play. Like I don't I'm
But that'll
already
give you
kind
an
of.
actual like vibe of what the combat is going to be like in this game.
I know, but at the same time, like I feel like I don't really need it because I am.
No, and I don't think you have to play that one, and that's why I think they separate
I
the
don't think you
two.
have to.
You just need to get to the end of like this prologue story, or
Right.
like this moment because it ends
Mhm.
on a big moment that
Yeah,
sort of
and
sets up,
Oh,
oh,
it's a
I'm
understatement to say it's a big moment.
yeah, I'm really eager to see how the demo pans out. But having spent a lot of time now with the combat, and yeah, I've done 2 boss battles that are in the I guess you'd call them boss battles
Mhm.
in the demo here. Also, just how cinematic it is. Like when you first meet the goblins in the swamp, I was like, these
Mhm.
things look cool. Like I haven't felt that way about like creature design in a Final
Yeah.
Fantasy game in a long time, if ever.
I really do. I
yeah.
really do like the enemies, and you only see a few so far, but I do like them.
Yeah, like
Obviously, they're early enemies and stuff, but
the
so
goblins look
about
really cool. The Marlboro was really cool.
I
Also,
don't want to get
knowing what I
into it, but how do you feel about the
look at
human
these things, they're
design and
terrifying.
those character models
I
specifically?
think this
Because
game looks fantastic. I think these characters look great.
well,
I
best
know what you're
faces you've ever
saying.
seen, or
No, I don't think best
how do you
faces
think
I've ever
about the
seen.
facial hair? What do you think about the facial hair?
I think it looks fine.
It
Here's the
looks
thing.
a little
I
dated.
know what you're
The
alluding
character
to, but
models, but yeah,
I think the I don't want to spend all night talking about character models because we could
no,
argue about
we
that
don't
all
have
night.
to.
you know what? I'm
But
just gonna say that I don't think their hair matters too much.
It's gonna go like it's gonna eventually fade, and you're not even gonna be thinking about how they look like PS4
I'm
characters.
already not thinking about it. I think
I
I
know.
love I love the character designs and the personalities so
Yeah,
far. I think are great. Yeah. Now here's the thing. I know I know. I think Final Fantasy 12 kind of raised the bar as far as like character
yeah.
designs.
I think the
But I also don't think
and
um
13, honestly.
at 13 really you feel that way about
I
13.
think the characters and character models and faces look better in 12,
They
13, and 15.
they had very unique characters. Obviously, with 15, they tried to bring it more down to earth, and I think that kind of hurt it a bit. I don't know if they're going. It seems like they've made things a little more, exaggerated and stuff in this one, and I don't know if we maybe just haven't met. There might be other characters that might bring a little more, fantasy to it. But I
Yeah.
think that's kind of one of the things that I really missed in 15.
That's
Strong
true.
acting and writing is what's going to make that stuff fade into
Dude,
the background.
so far the acting in this is already better than 15.
That's what I'm
The
saying.
Uh
writing.
I'm saying just because I think the character models or faces look a little dated, that goes away. Like once you start to spend time with these characters, like the 2 fucking grunts that hang out with you when you go to the swamp. At first, I
Yeah.
was like, they barely even look different. Like I don't care about these characters at all. But by the end of that demo, I'm like, I care about these nothing characters for some reason. And I think it's
Mhm.
because strong performances, strong writing, good story, and you'll see, Nick, it gets
I know
crazy.
I will.
Um,
I just want everybody to know I tried.
it's
I didn't have a lot of
it
time to
is
do this today.
it
I'm
is
just
no, I know.
I
It's Marvel.
I just without spoiling too much because it's the first like hour and a half of
Yeah.
the game. It's like Game of Thrones. Maybe don't get attached to all the characters.
Okay. No, yep. See,
That's
and that's
Oh man.
Oh,
that I mean
great.
they have been very outspoken about the fact that Game of Thrones was one of the
Is
major
an
influences
influence.
when writing
And
the
it's funny
story, and
because
that's
A Song
cool.
of Ice and Fire is like you see those influences and stuff like Vagrant Story. It's
yeah.
like the books. Uh they're very, let me tell you, if you like A Song of Ice and Fire, you probably like the story of like Tactics Ogre. Like this is definitely my shit. And it is the thing that I wanted most to be good. And I can tell from this 2 hours or whatever that it
It's gonna
is
be
going
good.
to be good. And very happy because one, you can tell it's a very story driven game. In fact, I feel like this is you were probably watching the game more than playing it in that first 2 hours.
One thing I do want to say about that, because first of all, yes, you do spend a lot of time watching cutscenes in this demo. You do got to remember it is the opening hours of this game.
Yeah.
So that's to be expected, because I think the opening hours of most Final Fantasy games are pretty. They got you on a path for a
Yeah.
while.
They're trying to
But it's-
establish lore and figure things out
Yeah,
and set
but
a
I'm
baseline.
also curious about structure because it was like aggressively linear,
They
and you
have
get to the
said
world map, and it is like kind of a pick the place you want to go. I am curious what like how is this going to open up, when it's going to open up, like how often it's going to open up. Some people were saying like
they said
the way
there
this
are
game's going to be a little
4.
bit more like God of War, like a modern God of War than a modern Final Fantasy in terms of structure.
They have said that there are 4 very very large open areas that are like fully
See, that's
explorable.
a weird thing to say though. Like it's a
But
weird
like,
thing to
but like,
number.
I
It's
know it's a weird thing, and we haven't seen what that is, so we don't really know the scope of it. But the way they made it sound was like you could spend hours and hours and hours exploring each one of those areas. The rest of the stuff is probably going to be a little bit smaller in scope or even linear at times. But I think a lot of that also has to do with the fact that one thing you got to remember is the story of this game is being told over the lifespan of this character. You're going to be jumping back and forth between him as like what is he, like 15 years old in most of this demo, and then he's 30 years old in the other, and I think he's like in his 40s or 50s or something at one. But like you're going to be jumping around in time, experiencing this world at 3 different points in this character's life,
Yeah.
which has also never
So
been done
it makes me
before.
think that it's not
in-
just going to
yeah.
be like structurally linear, but it's also going to be very much driven by those story and those cutscenes, which is
But what I'm
it's
really
good
excited
that that
about,
stuff is good and compelling.
what I'm really excited about, especially from a world design standpoint, that I think there's a lot of potential here, is because they're telling a story that jumps around in time and focuses on different points of this main character's life. I wonder if you're going to see the passage of time reflected in the different areas of the game. So
Oh,
like when
more
you
than
go
likely.
back to places you've already explored at a different point in his life, how obvious is it going to be that time has passed?
Oh,
Like
yeah,
I think that's going to be. I'm sure that's
Probably.
going to be a thing.
They'll have like a village that starts out as a village when he's a teenager and then grows into a town, like things like that. You will
Or
see
the
that
opposite,
out in the
or
world.
the
We're
opposite.
speculating pretty hard here. But yeah, how do you feel about the combat?
I love it. I mean, now that I've had a chance to play around with it, I think it's fun in the moment. It's a lot of fun. I think
yeah.
doing
I
like
think-
timed dodges and like counterattacks and the leaping across the field and stuff and waiting for your
I miss
icon.
having a party
meters.
though. Even 15 had like those abilities where you can like use your teammates to do like
Tell
team
them what to do or
attacks.
something.
I mean,
yeah.
here's the
Or,
thing.
yeah.
So hold on, but I will also say, Brad, that I felt like 15 got a little clustery for me with like how the weapons
Yeah.
worked and
No,
stuff like
I
that.
didn't like the combat at all.
And I think this one's a little more grounded and a little tighter. And I like that. And yeah, I don't know if you'll ever be able to tell your companions how to do, or they're just gonna do their
Well, no,
you know.
there are some stuff. So like in that second demo, you can give some commands to like Torval, who's now
That's
a
true, that's
grown-up
true.
dog, a wolf or whatever. But they've said that it's never going to be like a party
Yeah.
RPG game.
But there
Like,
are probably gonna be points in the
always gonna
story where
be-
you are just like you are in this demo. There's gonna be other people tagging along with you for like particular
that's what I'm
things.
saying. Like
No,
very
there- yeah,
God
there
of War.
I'm just saying. I think there's
Which
gonna
also
be
has
plenty of
4 big open
opportunities.
areas.
Right, but I think there is going to be plenty of opportunities for Clive to be having dialogue with other characters,
And-
and maybe the fact that you're not tied to the same party for the entire game, it's going to maybe add some variety, like having different kinds of conversations with the different kinds of
Sounds like
people.
you're just describing 13 now, honestly.
Really? Wait, 13?
So,
Nothing about this
kind of.
game makes me think of 13. I'm going to be totally honest.
One thing I thought about was with the different characters in your parties at different times. I like that anytime you save the game, your current party is in sprite form on the save file.
Oh, I didn't notice
There's
that.
Cute.
Yeah, there's little sprites of the characters that are in your party. And I think even on the main menu, or when you pull up the inventory menu or whatever, on the bottom
Right.
right, you see the sprites, like old school Final Fantasy
Ah,
1
I
sprites
love
of
it.
who's in your party. Yeah.
Also, one thing that I think is just kind of a visual thing that I actually so you mentioned the overworld map being kind of like, where you pull back and you pick a place to go to instead of traveling actively between them, which is obviously the way the series used to be, and now we have this. But one thing I wasn't expecting is the overworld in this game reminds me a little bit of like moving around a world in like Octopath Traveler, like the way, the kind of like the shimmer like the world has. It almost looks like it's like that high. What's the term used to describe like the visual style in Octopath Traveler?
Overrated?
No, Brad. God, there's a word for it. I'm talking about just the
HD 2D?
HD 2D. The world map kind of has that HD 2D vibe to it, which I wasn't expecting, and I just really like the way it looks. Which I wasn't expecting in a game like this. So I'm actually kind of excited to see the world, because
I still feel like you're trying to make lemonade out of lemons.
No, dude.
You know what I heard? You know what I heard from the Capcom showcase? You know what they said?
No, I
Dragon's
didn't watch.
Dogma 2, 4 times the world is about 4 times the size of the first game. Now that's exciting.
So
For sure.
I want that for 16. That's what I want.
Dude, this game is going to be 60 to 70 hours long, and it's going to have like 11 to 12. And they've said that. And they also said 11 to 12 hours of like just cutscenes and stuff. So like there's a lot of meat on this game that we haven't even seen. But as far as the world thing goes, I'm just saying, because you can't, when you're in the world map, you can't move the cursor around and explore parts that you haven't unlocked yet. So it kind of like expands and gets bigger as you go from place to place. And I don't know why, but that kind of and because it's combined with that kind of like HD 2D look, I'm kind of excited about just the prospect of like seeing more and more of the map, and then getting like a full picture of like how everything looks and how all these places are related to each other. I know you think that's like trying to make lemonade or whatever the fuck you said, but I kind of dig it. Like most things that I was going into this, I was really nervous about this going into it, especially considering I'm where I am on the Fantasy Critic right now. I need this to be good, and I was a little nervous this wasn't going to be good, or it wasn't going to be my cup of tea. But it very much is. So
I'm excited about the story.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Sure.
Did you not like the combat?
I mean, it's fine. Honestly, I got more nervous about it when, I thought it was fine. It was a little like overly long when I was like fighting, the boss, like the Marlboro or whatever. But when I switched,
I think all of the bosses have a decent chunk of HP. Like all of them are like, I don't think you're supposed to be able to just like bum rush them and get it over real quick.
And the thing is, I believe that the game has like really cool, interesting mechanics once you like dive in deep. But when I switched to the second demo and you had like 3 icons with like abilities unlocked on each one, it was very like the game, like that stuff is very like the game is often very dark, and like these abilities are like so huge and flashy. I feel like I could barely see what the fuck was going on, like in a dark area, which was this was kind of a dungeony part. But it's gonna be it's just I'm just gonna have to like learn those mechanics. And people, I've seen videos of people saying like you can do this and you can cancel this, and I've sort of noticed that just from messing around with it a little bit, and that's cool. But it's I don't know. The progression needs to be like appealing to me too. Like it can't just be like rewarding combat like mechanics. Like I want to be able to like make interesting choices in terms of like the abilities I'm using or choosing to use at any given time, like through like progression. Like I need my RPG needs to feel like an RPG, and I'm a little worried that if I'm not going to care about progression, then I'm probably not going to care as much about combat. And
I definitely had a better feel for that after playing this demo, because I did spend some time dicking around in the menu and seeing like the skill tree and stuff.
It plays a lot better than 15. It plays a lot better than 15.
Oh yeah, I liked this demo. The hour and a half I've played with this demo, I liked more than the entirety of Final Fantasy 15.
See, that's crazy to me actually, because I really love the story, and like I like the story
of 15.
I don't love it yet. Of 16, and I think I'm gonna like it a whole hell of a lot. It is definitely my shit, but like I think they were doing like more interesting stuff in 15, like in terms of like structure and like, you had a big open space, there was a car, you were going to places like based on what we played of 16, I mean, that shit doesn't have me yet. I was getting bummed out on the level up screen where it was just, oh, all these stats go up, and I'm like, well, I guess I don't care about all those stats because they don't actually change anything for me, and the game just decided they all went up, and it's
Well, I
you
mean, what
know
did they change for you in 15?
no, I'm saying there was stuff for me to grab onto and care about from like a like gameplay standpoint, a exploration standpoint. I was excited when I got a
I mean, I'm just
chocobo
going to
and
say
stuff.
that we've only played the first couple hours of this game. I
Exactly.
would say I would dare you to erase all your knowledge of 15 and play the first couple hours of 15 and say which one's better. Like
No, I
I'm just
mean,
saying, we're
15
working
started
with
strong,
limited
I feel like.
knowledge.
Like
And
15 didn't get bad until like the back half, honestly. It's I don't know. I'm just
I
saying
see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
the 16 has a lot to prove and show to me in terms of gameplay and world and structure, and I didn't get it out of this demo, so like I'm not as in terms of that stuff, I'm not as like convinced yet, I guess I should
Mhm.
say, because I knew the combat like mechanics were going to be strong. The combat designer, we know they're good at it.
Just-
um
Do
what
do
did
you
convince me was the story stuff, so
mhm.
for me the rest is a wait and see.
You just
Okay.
really need some cup of noodle and some Coleman camping gear
I
to get
mean,
your
at
jollies
least
Yeah.
I gave
going.
it like a fun personality. I don't know. Like
I mean, here's the
15
thing.
is
We,
not
we like to
awful.
we dunk on Final Fantasy 15 a lot, but there are moments when I was playing Final Fantasy 15 where I was like, I like the vibe of this game a
Early
lot.
on, it was exciting. I mean, when you get your chocobo and then they get the patch that lets you listen to your music while on a chocobo, I was like,
Yes, that
this
is cool.
is
So
fun.
the one thing I will say, and I know we've talked about it before, but there is a point in 15 where a major character dies, and I didn't give a shit. I was like, nothing has
That ain't
made
gonna
me
happen in
care
this
about
game.
this character. There are already characters in this demo that made me die that I cared more about than the fucking person from 15.
See, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Do we know? I mean, I feel like I've asked this like several times in Discord, and I think I know the answer to it. Do we know when the fucking reviews drop for this thing? I haven't seen
Huh.
anything about an embargo.
Not sure.
I'll look it
I
up.
mean,
God damn
yeah,
it! I just
it'll
need
come.
I just need some. I need to know. This is stressing
You'll
me
be
out.
fine. What are you worried you're gonna lose points on this? You'll be
No,
fine.
this is my heavy hitter. I need it to be a heavy hitter. That's what I need. God damn it! If this gets an 86, it's not gonna be. I'm gonna be really bummed.
It
I
won't
need
get
this to
an
be.
86. It'll get
I
like an
need this.
88, an 89, maybe a
Sure.
90, 91.
If
You'll
this
be
doesn't break a
fine.
90, I'll be mad. I'll be
That's a
mad
weird thing to put on this game.
because this is. Why is this a weird thing? Would you not have been? Would you be bummed if? I mean, here's the thing. Everybody on their list. Everybody has a game on their list that they know is a pretty good bet is going to be the 90 plus game, right?
Not
Everybody's got one.
necessarily. I mean,
I have like 3.
I
Shut up,
went,
shut up, Nolan.
I went second to last. My first pick was Baldur's Gate. Like I
Baldur's
expect this
Gate will
game
get
to
90s, bro, and so will
not
Starfield
necessarily.
probably.
No, I think I could see that being like a 88 or 87, 89, whatever. I mean, whatever. Be
What
fine.
I'm reading suggests that the review embargo for Final Fantasy 16 is next Tuesday.
Okay.
That gels. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyways, I didn't mean to
I was
drag us
excited, and
back
I was
into fantasy
excited
critic
that
territory.
I think ultimately what I'm most excited about is that like I think Malia is invested in the story like enough to like actually sit there and watch it with me because there will
Yeah.
be a lot of watching. And she could look at her phone when I'm doing combat or whatever. But I thought it was going to be some like shit that she would like not be interested in at all, which kind
Yeah.
of complicates my evenings.
Um.
But yeah,
it-
I could have
but
always played on my Steam Deck. But yeah.
but also to rein it back in and not to bring it back to like fantasy critic. I'm just talking about wanting to see reviews because Final Fantasy in general has been one of those series that like I feel it has been. I feel like it's been a long time since I've really genuinely loved and cared about a single player Final Fantasy game. I played enough. I played all the 13 games, but none of them ever made me feel the way I felt about 7, 8, 9, 10,
And nothing ever
12.
will make you.
No.
I mean, that nothing will ever make you feel the way you did about the games or Final Fantasy games or games in general that you played when you were 13
You're
to
missing the
18.
point. You're missing the point. I'm saying the 13 and 15 specifically, because those have been the only two single player mainline Final Fantasy games. I mean, you could talk about 7 remake, but that's also digging into nostalgia for 7. Those are the only 2 original single-player Final Fantasy games since 12, and both of them have had a myriad of problems that prevented them from being games that I would say I love, quote unquote.
This could do.
And Final Fantasy historically has been a series that I love, and I'm just eager to see if this manages to kind of rekindle and recapture the magic of single-player Final
What
Fantasy
about
games.
for
'cause I feel
Spoken?
That's not even.
you know, Brett. You know that ain't it, Brad.
Yeah.
You know that ain't it.
May I ask a
Um,
question?
you like
May I
the
ask 2
character.
questions?
Sure, ask away.
Okay. Is there a Tonberry?
I don't know. It's
I mean,
demo.
it's the
Yes,
2
it's a
hours.
Final Fantasy game. Hold on, no, yeah, it's a Final Fantasy game. Yes, there's going to be a Tonberry.
There's a Marlboro in the if there's a
Those are
Marlboro
late
this
game
early.
enemies.
Yeah,
What?
but like,
Yeah, what-
I don't care about the Marlboro. The Tonberry is most
That's a
happening.
classic.
And then number 2, is there a female protagonist in this game, or is it
No,
you just
the
only
main-
100% being?
Well, I
Clive?
mean, you are
We don't
playing.
know. The game's not out.
I mean,
Yeah, we don't know
We
yet.
don't know, but the way it's being positioned and the way it's been explained up until this point is that you are playing through Clive's life over the span of 3 decades of his life.
I will say you definitely
There
play as
are-
more than just Clive.
There are female characters in the game that are very important, but as far as I know, I mean, unless no one's alluding to something else in the demo that I haven't gotten to yet, which he
In
might
the
be.
demo,
Okay.
you play as more than just Clive.
Okay.
Because I'm
Okay.
I'm
I
like,
like how we're over here trying not to spoil the demo for everyone else has finished the demo. This
It's not like a spoiler just to say that. Like I don't think
you play as the kid.
I'm not worried about him spoiling the last
Brother.
30 minutes of a demo that I'm then going to go on and play another 60 hours of when it comes
Yeah.
out. You know what I mean?
I just, from my outside perspective, I think back at about Final Fantasy 15, in which the only female character in the fucking game was like
yeah.
a side, not even a thing.
The lady sit at the gas station or the
Yeah,
truck stop
that
or whatever
was
with
it.
the.
No, there
Yeah.
was not. There was that one girl, the one with the main like driving factor
Yeah.
of the story.
The princess who
Yeah.
or whatever, whose name we don't
Did
even
you not
remember.
watch the
remember her
anime?
name?
Jeez.
Oh man. Anyways, I'm really, 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 really eager to get my hands on the final version of this game now. So I guess we'll have more to say about this. Not next week because it comes out next Thursday, but the week after, I'm sure we'll have a lot more to say about it. This certainly, I think this moved the bar a little bit, in terms of getting people excited for it. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how it plays out, how it all shakes out. Oh yeah, Luna Freya was her name.
I'm
Yeah,
a
it
little
was
iffy
not
on the
a good name.
QTEs. There are QTEs in the story sequences or in the battles, boss battles, icon battles.
Cinematic
I'm like, are they
moments,
supposed
yeah.
to be hard?
No,
Like, it
Yeah.
I mean,
almost
at least
seems
not
a
at this
little
point.
like, what is it like? No one does QTEs like this anymore.
I think it's
not-
just meant to add a little like
Weird.
cinematic flavor to, because
the
like you
game's
said, those
already
bosses.
super cinematic, but
It is very cinematic. Also, like there's random doors that you have to like push open like with the R2 button, which is silly.
Yeah.
Which is silly,
People
but like
are-
it does feel
um,
nice when you have like when you do that, you push open the giant double doors and you feel that resistance on the triggers like trying to like open them. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's dumb, but it's cool.
I just want this game
Anyways.
to come out so I can find out what this.
Oh,
story-
also is Joshua's voice actor the same kid who voices Hugo in A Plague Tale? Because I think it is. Of course, the only person
I
who's
don't
played
know.
A Plague Tale here is the person who hasn't played this demo. So, but yes,
evidently-
I'm pretty sure.
Tail?
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I didn't-
Are you talking about the second one?
Well, he's in both. Same actor in both.
Oh, okay. Well then, yeah.
No, the voice actors for Amicia and Hugo are supposedly in the game.
Yeah, and I'm guessing Joshua is the voice actor of Hugo. Mayhem in chat says yep. Okay, so
So you
that's gonna
just
do it.
said, Chris Davis, that you knew there was a woman in this game.
But like a playable party member is more what I meant.
Oh,
Like
well,
somebody
you
that's
didn't say
not
that.
just eye candy.
No,
Yikes.
yikes!
I mean, that's
we do
Yeah,
know there
you
are
said
no.
you were.
Wow, Chris Davis.
We do know there are no black people in the game. Thanks, Yoshi P.
Oh no!
He definitely played the. There was no, black people back in medieval times. He played that card.
Yikes.
Yeah, I think we're still educating him on that one. But
I think he's forgetting about Achu.
Yeah.
Bless you.
okay.
I don't know what's happening right now. Let's wrap this podcast up with the 4-player minute. Brad, you start us
Yeah.
off, please. Save us. Save us.
I got no 4-player minute. I'm dedicating my 4-player minute time to Chris Davis's 4-player minute.
Because oh god. Okay.
Well, he said
That's
he
a
had a
first.
lot to say, and what he's talking about is a pretty crazy news topic. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna rant with
right.
him. Go ahead, Chris Davis.
Okay. So one of the big pieces of news this week was that Embracer Group has announced that they are experiencing funding issues, so they are going to go through a restructuring program for an unknown amount of time,
Wasn't there
affecting
like an $18 billion or something
something
deal
like that.
that fell
Yeah.
through or something? Yeah.
Yeah, they made an acquisition bid that has fallen through. And their entire funding model for supporting their stuff has been very similar to what Netflix has done, which has been about infinite growth and not the revenue to back up that infinite growth. To give you a perspective, Embracer, since they started up, has grown to over 120 development studios.
17,000
which-
employees.
Damn.
17 to 18,000 people employed under them. And it's just not been sustainable because they're...
And of course, you may remember them as the studio that acquired Crystal Dynamics and a
Eidos
bunch
Montreal.
of Eidos Montreal. You know, they have big IP like Tomb Raider and Deus Ex, and you know, it's a big deal.
I'm going to go through a list of stuff, and this is a truncated, curated list of stuff that they've acquired that is now at considerably high risk of being culled. They're talking about fucking studio closures. They're not talking about layoffs. They're talking about studio closures.
Yeah, multiple studio closures.
Yeah. So
after
in their
multiple
quote
project
unquote
cancellations.
in their quote unquote open letter to their employees, which was publicly posted, they highlighted several games that are priorities for them on their current release schedule. They are Alone in the Dark, Arizona Sunshine 2, Homeworld 3, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2, Payday 3, Remnant 2, and Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. Those are their priority games for this current fiscal year.
It's really funny. I didn't realize a lot of those were even under the Embracer Group umbrella.
Yeah. Oh,
That kind of gives you an
nuts, man.
idea of just how fucking like how much like how big their umbrella is at this point. It's ridiculous.
At this point, Embracer probably controls between a quarter to a third of the industry on AA and AAA content. So that's how fucking big they are, and that's how fucking big this deal is. The only things that are confirmed safe right now are Crystal Dynamics, who publicly came out right as this happened, saying we're safe because we've got that deal with Tomb Raider for Amazon, and we've got that deal with Microsoft to co-develop Perfect Dark. The only other thing that is safe is Middle-earth Enterprises because Embracer is pivoting to, amongst other things, focus on, quote, and they say this in the letter, heavily exploiting the Lord of the Rings license that they have.
I love the choice of words.
Yeah. So I've developed two lists here. I developed a list of what I think is probably safe, maybe subject to layoffs, but it's probably safe.
Something tells me Legacy of Kane's probably not going to happen.
Well,
I don't think that's going to happen.
So I think for likely safe, I think Eidos Montreal is safe, because they are more than likely helping with the Tomb Raider project, but they've also got Deus Ex that they're in pre-pro on. I think that's safe because they specifically bought that license too.
Get canceled?
Which one?
Deus
What
Ex.
makes you think
Considering how
Deus
the
Ex
last
wouldn't
ones
get
did,
canceled?
like, as
I think that
well,
absolutely
Square
could have been
Enix
something
shot
on the
themselves in the foot on that, so it was their fault why that happened. But Eidos Montreal, I think, is safe. I also think 4A Games is safe. They've got two projects, one of which is Metro 4, and ought to be announced either this
just
back
to be
half
clear,
of this
though,
year or next
everybody
year.
listening to this is guesswork we're looking at.
This
right
is
here.
guesswork.
Educated
Mr.
guesses.
Chris Davis over
Yeah.
here.
And this is okay. So
Word
Saber
on the street.
Interactive.
This is we should call this section "Word on the Street."
Saber Interactive is probably safe because they got Space Marine 2 and a bunch of other things they're working on. They're also working on. They got handed development of the KOTOR remake, Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, I forgot about that.
That got canceled.
I
don't
don't know if it's
believe
really
that.
canceled at this point, but it's probably redeveloped entirely. Gearbox is more than likely safe. They've got Borderlands. They've got a bunch of different stuff. They're going to be fine.
They're a major player. I don't think
Stop
they're
saying
they're
that. You don't know any of this.
Also, that's why I said likely, Brad. Likely. I did not make any guarantees here.
Okay,
Read
you
the
just
fine
said
print on
they're
what I'm
going to be
saying.
fine,
But
It's
I guess the
Gearbox.
problem here is that your logic for why these studios are safe is because they have big projects attached to them, and that does not
Yeah.
necessarily mean anything.
Well, I'm
Like,
talking about
you know,
studio
Saber is
closures.
probably fine
We've
until
never
Space
seen
Marine.
a big project canceled. It's never
Yeah,
happened before.
that's sure, of course.
Saber might be fine until Space Marine 2 ships because that game's almost done as it is, and then once it's done, like they might be on the chopping block. Who the fuck knows?
Also, and the last one I have on my potentially safe list is Slipgate Ironworks. They're the studio that just announced Ghost Runner 2. So
right.
they're probably good for at least to the end of that. At risk, I have an alphabetized list of studios here, and it's bad. 3D Realms, which has 9 publishing projects right now. Aspire, which lost KOTOR, so they're probably
probably already fired.
Yeah. Beamdog, who was doing a Myth Force cartoony FPS roguelike thing. Black Forest Games, the developers behind the Destroy All Humans remakes. They're probably in bad shape. Bugbear Entertainment, they haven't done anything since 2018's Wreckfest. Coffee Stain, they did Satisfactory and Goat Simulator 3 most recently. I think they could be in trouble. I think what's really probably going to die is Cryptic Studios. Their last project, the one they've been maintaining, is Star Trek Online. They haven't done anything since. Dambuster, they just released Dead Island 2. Very different. I think they're more subject to layoffs than closure, but you know, Dead Island 2 was such a lengthy project. I can't trust anything. Experiment 101, I think, is dead. They were Biomutant. Yeah. Fish Labs, they did Chorus, and Chorus did okay, but not well. Flying Wild Hog did Evil West last year. I think they might be strong. Here's a real big question: Free Radical, because Free Radical has been developing a new Time Splitters game.
Dunzo, no
Yeah,
way.
I don't.
Wait a minute. Coffee Stain is Satisfactory, Deep Rock Galactic, Valheim.
Well,
Damn.
no, they helped out with Deep Rock Galactic, but they are not Deep Rock Galactic.
They're not lead on
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That they're the next ones. Ghost Ship Games did Deep Rock Galactic, and they just announced a season 4 update, but I don't know about that. Grimlore Games, their last project was Spellforce 3 in 2017. They haven't done anything since.
Chris Davis, just FYI, you're on G. We need to speed this up just a little bit.
We're over the halfway point. You know how names go, man. New World Interactive did Insurgency Sandstorm 2018. Nothing since. Perfect World probably is okay because they are the lead on Persona 5: The Phantom X, the mobile game. They're probably going to be okay, but they might experience some less. Piranha Bytes, Elix 2 for them last year did not do well, so I think they're prime. Rainbow Studios, the MX versus ATV series, like we discount that franchise because it's AA and it's not our interest.
It's just not really our bag,
but I don't think they've been doing well. Snapshot Games, their singular project was Phoenix Point in 2019, and that did not do well. There was also Tatsujin. They publish old Japanese arcade games like Twin Cobra, things you might have heard of. Tripwire Interactive, they published Maneater 3 years ago, and they published Chivalry 2 years ago. Nothing since.
Sometimes I can't believe I played Maneater. Like all of it.
That was
like
a fun game.
All of it.
Yeah, it was a fun game.
Yeah, right.
Tuxedo Labs, they're probably okay because they just announced a PS5 port of Teardown. And I've got 3 more. Warhorse Studios, the ones that did Kingdom Come Deliverance, they did that in 2018. Nothing since. A really big one I worry about is Volition. Saints Row did not do well, and all support development of that went to Gearbox. The most recent update, the big-ass foundational update for the rest of Saints Row's life, is Gearbox now. So that's not good.
That doesn't sound good, yeah.
And then the last one I have is Zen Studios. All they do are their pinball games, really.
Those will
But
be fine.
those will probably be okay. Yeah. But like that is just a fraction of the talent that is on the chopping block now. And it is scary. So I
It
just
is scary.
I want to spend my 4-player minute expanding on this because I don't think people really understand how bad this is.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking. The number of times Embracer's come up over the past year and a half is pretty astounding, and it's not until something like this happens that you realize just how much reach that company actually has garnered. So like, yeah, it's a big deal. But you know, at the end of the day, this talent will hopefully land. You know, I think it always fucking sucks when layoffs happen and studio closures happen. Their loss will be other studios' gain, I suppose. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how it shakes out in terms
Hopefully.
of.
Like I had a friend who got laid off and he never got another job again in the free industry. He tried his damnedest and he never got back in. So
Well, that super sucks.
yeah.
All right. Then let's hand it over to Nolan for maybe a more
Please save us,
positive?
Nolan.
Please save the negativity. What's the
Sure.
brighten our
So
day, Nolan?
my 4-player minute starts now. Coming off the Final Fantasy XVI demo, I am very excited for it. I'm very hopeful. As someone who was super excited for 15 and extremely let down, I'm hoping that does not happen this time. And so far, it doesn't seem like it's going to. My second hype was I really liked what I saw of Starfield. It looks like it's going to be easily a 200-hour game potentially, depending on how I play it. But we'll see how that goes. I know I know 4 got a lot of hate, but I really enjoyed my time with 4, Fallout 4. So I'm pretty excited for this one. And the only other thing I want to bring up tonight is my fuck you is going to go to YouTube. Um, I hate that my YouTube feed gets cluttered with crap that I'm like, why is it showing me this? And then I go and look at my YouTube history and it says I've watched all these videos, but that's because if my mouse hovers over a video for just a little bit too long, YouTube considers that like a watch.
What?
Yeah, no, because if you do it on your computer, I don't know if you do it on your phone, if when it starts auto playing, it counts. But if you go and look at your history in YouTube, you'll see that you've watched like 10 seconds of this video, and now it starts recommending other videos.
Yep.
So almost on a daily basis now, I go in my YouTube history and just delete shit because it's like I did not watch this, and I do not want you to recommend more of this shit. And so
God
yeah,
dang.
I would
I think you're
say,
blowing people's minds in chat. I feel like, oh my
hey,
god, that makes so much sense.
yeah. But I think it's one of those things where it's like, sometimes it's like, oh, maybe I would be curious about this video, but I'm like, you know what? No, I don't want to watch this, and I don't want YouTube to recommend me more of this crap. So, I just recommend maybe going and checking your history and deleting crap that you don't want it to recommend to you, because it really does work. It will stop recommending those videos because it doesn't think you've ever watched them before.
So my question
Yeah.
is, if you click on a link, you go to a YouTube video, but you don't play it, does that affect the algorithm?
If it does not autoplay, I don't believe it does. I think you have
Okay.
to actually have watched some of the video.
Okay.
Interesting.
Mhm.
And also fucked up. All right. Well, thank you, Nolan. My 4-player minute. I just want to say, it's Summer Game Fest time. This is fake E3 time. And while there was still a lot to kind of like raise an eyebrow at a lot of these presentations, a lot of things that were like either missing entirely or shown in a very unexpected, smaller capacity. I ended up walking away from this year's festivities pretty positive, mostly because I did not think that Starfield would occupy this much of my brain post E3. I am now super excited. Like I said earlier, I even went as far as to order that controller, mostly because I think it just looks really cool. But yeah, I'm feeling the Starfield hype, and I really wasn't. I was expecting that to kind of like really sink in like a week before it came out, and I would be in it for the ride, and then I'd probably just drop it and not end up finishing it. But like now, I've been thinking about it ever since that presentation, and I'm really excited. Final Fantasy XVI, that demo was technically part of the Summer Game Fest thing. It was part of their like launch party thing. And I'm really excited about that. Star Wars Outlaws kind of took my breath away in a way that I really wasn't expecting. That is now like tippy top of my most anticipated list. And to know that it's coming next year, at least right now, it's scheduled for next year, is really exciting. And yeah, you know what? 2023 in general, I've said it a lot, has been crazy, and there's still a lot to be excited for in the next 6 months. So that's really cool. Also, I mentioned this earlier, Amnesia: The Bunker, finished that last night. Hot damn, that's a good video game. If you like frictional games and you like that style of horror, it's really unexpected, and it's the only game that I think has ever come close to kind of like tapping into the same vibe as Alien Isolation, and that was my game of the year that year when it came out. So if you like that game, make sure you play The Bunker because it's very good. But yeah, that's it. That was kind of a scattershot of thoughts, but that's where I'm going to end it. So with that, that's our show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Hopefully we have Crispy on here soon to talk about all these things that he didn't get to mention tonight. Hopefully he feels better sooner rather than later.
Keep him in your thoughts.
Keep him in your thoughts. Send him some emojis and nice messages in Discord. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. And with that, guys, join us. Make sure you, if you're not already, please join us in Discord at discord.gg/4player. We'd love to have you. It's very active. It's the heart of our community now. Stop in, say hello in the introductions channel, then hang out a bit, talk about video games. That's what we do there. You can also find all of our podcast episodes on 4playernetwork.com. And until next week, next Thursday, be good to each other, play video games. Good night.